Live. Welcome to the greatest show on earth. Nice to be back again in the Livestream studio. Say hello in the chat if you're here. All right, welcome. I need to turn off that stream. I am coming to you live from Vancouver, Canada. We got 10 minutes until we're going to start. I always come on a little bit early just to annoy you guys a bit more. Okay. Hello. Just trying to get my the quality of. Oh, okay, good. We're cool. Everything sound good on your guys' end? I assume. Welcome to Akuta from Calcutta. Evans Kipto from Melbourne, Australia. We got Kent Hovens from Portland. We got Roshan D from Bangalore. We got Bruce Cook, Kurt Kolk, MBL McKenzie. Welcome, Khalid Muhammad. You embarrass me, sup. Bruce Cook again says, I love annoying. Nice. Okay, good. I just thought we were having a sound issue there for a second. Okay. Well, welcome. We are just a few minutes away, and then we're going to get into our live stream. We're going to be doing a full review, start to finish. This is probably going to take 3 episodes. It usually takes us a couple hours to get through a third of the video. So we're going to go through this conversation with a fine-tooth comb together. What are you guys drinking? Zents29. Welcome. I'm having a weird tutu. Okay, that's a little bit better. We are live. Okay, challenge for you guys. Go onto social media. Share this live stream. Share the link. You know you wanna. Tiago Rodriguez from Manchester, UK. Welcome. Khalid Muhammad has a beer. I'll probably have a little bit of vodka with ice when at halftime. If anyone's interested in calling in at halftime, I will have Skype up and running. I'm Travis Pangburn 3 on Skype. If you're having a problem finding me, I got something in the corner of my eye here. If you have a problem finding me, just let me know what your Skype handle is in the chat, and I will try to find you. And I'll be taking calls on topics relating to what we are actually watching. Kurt Kolk says, I'll grab a glass of wine for this. Hell yeah. Grab your drink. Zens29 is drinking pop. Yeah, I say pop and water tonight. Cool. MBL McKenzie says, Coke Zero in Matt's honor. Nice. Mitch S says, Trav gonna spend way too much time on his intro. I'll let it play through if there's any questions. Kurt Kolk says, thanks for these very interesting debates. You're welcome. If you guys are interested in becoming a patron for Pangburn, would love to have you. Go to patreon.com/Pangburn and become part of the clan. And if not, just subscribe to the YouTube channel and continue enjoying the content. So we got about 5 minutes till we're going to get started. I just want to make sure I have for... Oh, that's what's going on. I want That. Okay, that's a lot better. Oh, I was just hearing a different thing. That feels more present. One day I'll have a big fancy studio. Matto Fritz says COVID-19 positive here. Not sure if you're just trolling, but what's it like? Tell us in the comments. Are you dead? I think tomorrow. Oh no, tomorrow's Saturday. I think Monday or Tuesday I'll pop on just to do a live stream episode about the virus. Um, and yeah, we'll chat through it, and we'll look at what MDs, doctors are saying about it, and we'll kind of compare that to what's being said in the media about it. There's a lot of difference there. Um, yeah, someone's having a problem. Let's see here. One two three M Neil says when I click live, it goes back to the beginning. Yeah, you just need to fast forward right to the end of the live stream bar, and it should catch up. Ken Hoven says it would have been better if you could tase Dinesh every time he used a fallacy. Ooh, shots fired already. Shots fired already. Go and share this stream, you guys, with your favorite Facebook groups, on Twitter, on Facebook. Go share it quickly. It just helps out Pangburn, helps out the stream. In fact, I'm going to do that on Twitter right now. You can follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at the Pangburn. I am live. That's for our watch party of D'Souza versus Dillahunty. Or as his haters call him, Dillahunty. I'm sure he loves that. I am live now. Okay, I'll post that there. One of these times I'm going to have a Freudian slip at an event with Matt, and I'm going to introduce him as Matt Dillahunty. I mean Hunty. I crack myself up. Okay, I'm just doing a quick Facebook share. One more Facebook share here, guys. To all the pages. You guys should be doing this too. Help out the stream. You can do it. Takes 5 seconds. I know it's asking a lot. Yeah. No, stay on this page. Well, we've hit the weekend mark, guys. We made it through another week. We made it through virus week. Oh, we are. Okay, cool. I think I've notified the world enough. That should be good. Cool, cool. Yeah, we're going to really delve into this debate, guys. There's so much jumping around, as you'll see. We got a couple minutes till we're going to get started, but tons of jumping around. This is why, in the end, when I actually meant it when I came out and said we're going to need like 4 or 6 more hours of conversation between these two, because I actually think the conversations that were had, like the topics that were touched, they did, they ended up going into a lot of things that I didn't expect them to go into. I knew social issues were going to come up, but not as much. I thought we were going to focus more on God and Trump. That was the general topic for the night. But this is why I love doing these conversations, just like conversations, fireside conversations, just wide open. Go into it with this idea of topics you're going to stick to, but don't be married to it. Bruce Cook says, I just gave you a sub and a like. Thank you very much, Bruce. Please, everyone who's listening to this live stream right now, please make sure you're subscribed and hit the notification bell. Joust Mike says 2020 have been a very action-packed year so far, and it's just March. Yeah, it's been crazy. Oh, and just to let you guys know, we are at 7 Pacific, so we'll get started here. But I did end up making the decision to postpone the tour with Lawrence Krauss and myself across Canada. It sucks, but I think it's the best thing to do right now. And again, we won't get into this right now, but I'll do another stream about what I think about this virus. But just for precautionary reasons, large gatherings are not really a good thing right now. It's not that people who go to them are going to die or anything. It's just that, we can be carrying this thing. Most people aren't even going to have very many symptoms, if any at all. So it's easy to spread it to the very small part of the population that could have severe reactions to this virus. So that being said, let's get some content rolling here. I'm so excited that this event is now online and the world is getting to see it. I think we're at 65,000 views already. It's been out for like 2 days. That's quicker amount of views than we had for the first Sam Harris versus Jordan Peterson talk. So, yeah, I'm really excited about that. That video was released on 3 different channels because Sam and Jordan released it on their own channel as well. But this one's I think going to break some records for the Pangburn network here. So really excited about that. But here we go. We're going to start off with running this trailer. This was the trailer that was built essentially right after I confirmed Matt and Dinesh for this event. This trailer was built right away, and I edited it, so I'll take all the credit. Sorry guys, I gotta fix something with the audio here. Bear with me. Huge fail. No, I just need to change it to this, I think.
We have seen in recent years, not just atheism, but a kind of new atheism, more militant, more suave, more effective than the atheism of the past. They want to attack Christianity in the private sphere also. They really want to make every Christian feel like a total idiot.
Can a scientist explain why there's a monkey that can sit next to you and you look a whole lot different?
Sure, because we didn't descend from monkeys. Monkeys and humans descended from a common ancestor.
I was a fundamentalist Christian for more than 25 years and thought that I was supposed to be a preacher.
Jesus gave some good advice and some crappy advice and some questionable advice, and that's not enough. And there's not a secular humanist organization or country on the planet that has ever produced as a good thing, an intentional good thing, rapists and murderers.
Donald Trump is an outlier. He is unusually flamboyant. He's brash. He, in that sense, is the kind of person who normally wouldn't even be in politics. The very fact that he was able not only to win the presidency, but to beat Hillary in traditionally Democratic territory, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, shows you that there is a hunger in the country for throwing out the rules and trying something new.
So this isn't about atheists as a single voting bloc, and it's one thing that we have to be aware of.
As the secular community continues to grow and more people participate, there is going to be a plurality of ideas within our own community. How we handle that, how we deal with it, and what we do on behalf of it is going to tell the world who we are. And while I support people's rights, First Amendment's rights to protest, and go ahead, peacefully demonstrate all you want, when you cross the line into doing property damage and things like that, you're no longer working in your best interest. You are giving ammunition to the very people that you're trying to oppose.
All right, there's the trailer. Awesome stuff. Just quickly, El Chi asked, "What is this song?" It was just a composition, a piece of a composition of one of my originals. And I gave you guys a link at the top if you want to follow my music and what I do. My stuff gets released on SoundCloud, so SoundCloud, just search Travis Pangburn. So it's just a piece of something I composed. Yeah, so let's rock and roll here. Thank you all who are hanging out. Let me just see. It looks like we got 76 viewers in the room. That's awesome. Make sure you guys hit the like button on this stream and make sure you're subscribed. Here we go. Hey guys, welcome to Pangburn, where being a crybaby does not improve the strength of your argument. If you're interested in having good faith discussions about the issues that really mean the most to humanity, please hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell so that you're notified when we release new awesome content. For those of you who don't know, I've recently declared ideological war on Ben Shapiro for his views on infant circumcision. I think we should stop slicing baby dicks, and he seems to disagree. So, ideological war declared. To learn more about my ideological war with Ben Shapiro, please go to thewarofideas.org. Now please hold on to your butts and enjoy Matt Dillahunty versus Dinesh D'Souza. Hold on to your butts. I have to give a quick shout out to Aurora, a company in New York City that did all the video production for this event. They did a fucking fantastic job. Thank you so much to them. All right, everyone. Hello. Nice to see you all. I wanted to come out and just congratulate you all. Thank you all for investing in intellectual discourse. I know you guys get to see the event, but really, to make these things happen, you need to have investors like you guys. And those of you who are watching through our live stream, thank you guys as well for contributing to this discussion. The live stream, by the way, was seamless and so perfectly done. For it was just a one camera shoot that we were able to provide, but it was done so well. I need to recognize 4 key investors for this event, because this wouldn't have been possible without them. And first, Sally Jennings from right here in New York City. She was a huge reason why we were able to do this event, and thank you, Sally. My 2 friends, Jeremy Williams and Ben Lang, came through for me and for all of us. They really believe in what I do and what we do at Pangburn. So thank you so much to them. The lights are really bright. And final person is my good dear friend, huge supporter of mine, and believes in what I'm doing as well, Dana McLeod. She has supported me in so many different ways, and she is such a good friend, and I really appreciate her. But here we are. Matt and Dinesh are in the house. You guys excited? I think, and I've said online the reasons why I think this, so you guys, if you go to pang-burn.com, you can follow what I do or what we do at Pangburn. But I think this is going to be the biggest challenge of both of these speakers' career, and I hope you feel excited to be here to experience that live. And that's about it for me. I don't want to waste your guys' time. Please put your hands together for Matt Dillahunty and Dinesh D'Souza.
Hey,
Thank you.
they showed up. There's people out there.
Okay, you guys are already booing in the chat. This is going to be awesome. Just quickly in the chat, Blast Prophet says, smug, watching yourself. Well, I wanted to watch the intro so that everyone could get context of specifically all of the investors who were responsible for making this all happen. Harry Dunn asks, is this a live stream of an older live stream? Yes, this is the event that happened on March 1st. These are our watch parties where we go through everything. Yeah, people are saying boo and boo earns. Say hello in the chat if you're with us. And let's get on with this.
Wow.
I was saying boo earns.
I know there's people out there because I can hear the clapping unless they're playing like a track, but the lights are good. How is everybody? So that's an interesting thing is we have no idea. You and I just met like an hour and a half ago at most. We have no idea what the audience makeup is, who's here for who walked in with what preconceived notions. I thought I would dress as much like Satan as possible to make it really easy to do the breakdown.
I got my USA socks.
Yeah.
So I'll make a more modest
I'm
statement.
sure I'll find an excuse to burn them at some point just to irritate.
I think Matt saved Dinesh a bit there. That was a little bit of a weird, like, Matt came off with, like, I'm dressed like Satan. It's like, yeah, that's funny because he's atheist. And then Dinesh is like, well, I'm wearing my USA socks. That was like, what am I supposed to do with that?
Date somebody. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
I'm pleased to do this. For those who don't know, once upon a time we would have agreed incredibly strongly. I think we'll find out because we're just gonna sit here and kind of have a free-form discussion for 80, 90 minutes or something, and then we'll be taking questions. There's mics set up on either side, so you can get your questions ready, and you can, I don't know, if you want to really be obnoxious, you could Google and fact check either one of us, and I gotcha. But mostly there were people asking, why are you doing this? I have no idea why you're doing this.
Why am I doing it?
Yeah.
Well, okay. First of all, I want to commend Travis because debate has become kind of rare in our society. Debate used to be pretty common. In fact, you could go on CNN, you had crossfire, Michael Kinsley on the left and Pat Buchanan on the right. Now, if you watch a CNN panel, it's 12 guys who think the same. I concur, and I concur, and I concur. So this has made impoverish, I think, our public debate. So A, I like the idea of debate, and B, debate on these topics that go beyond politics and engage philosophy, epistemology, God, are even rarer.
Yeah.
And so for this reason, I thought, this is fun. When the late Christopher Hitchens was alive, I did a bunch of these debates, mainly on campus. And I haven't done one in a lot of years. I've been focused on the political.
He died, unfortunately.
Well, yeah, it was unfortunate because he and I got along well. We'd, in fact, often sit after the debate and put down a bottle or two of wine, and then he'd tell me gossip about the Clintons. And
that's one thing Dinesh would love, any kind of gossip about the Clintons.
About the time that the mullahs chased him down the street in Iran and things like that. So we actually had some political common ground. So it was interesting.
Yeah, it was one of the things that I noted, because while Hitch and I only met briefly, we have a bunch of mutual friends, and there were political areas where I disagreed with him. But I've spent most of my time, I spent a good chunk of time, like I was as a Rationality Dinesh, and then I was kind of apolitical, and of course now it seems that everybody is more political, and a lot of people will say, oh, well, in the olden days it was we shouldn't discuss religion and politics, and I'm like, those are the things that matter most and the things that I'm most interested in discussing, although I tend to lean more on the religion front. Because I was a Southern Baptist. You, I believe, if I'm correct, were Catholic but are non-denominational Christian now? I mean...
Yeah, I was raised in India. My family, going generations back, was converted by Portuguese missionaries and to Catholicism. That's kind of how I got the Portuguese last name, D'Souza, which my parents then married to an Indian first name. But we were just, it was a social Christianity rather than a devout Christianity. And then when I came to America, obviously largely a more Protestant country, I began to think about these things a little different. And so I would say I actually adopted my faith more in adult life than I did as a kid when I was a believer, but in a very routinized Sunday Mass kind of way.
So the title of this event, when it was being promoted and everything, is God, Trump, and the Future of America. So, I mean, basically...
Trump would probably like to switch the order of those.
Yes.
But nevertheless...
I would like to remove one of them.
I thought, God, I know. Trump too?
No, remove one from the discussion. The other one, I don't need to remove because I don't have any reason to think he exists, but the discussion is good.
Well, don't you make your life talking about him?
I do spend a lot of time talking about him.
It'd be like if I've spent my life talking about unicorns.
It would be, except that you don't live in a world where the overwhelming majority of people believe in unicorns and are trying to legislate what other people can do based on what they think unicorns want.
Okay. This is how they get started here. Let me just run to the chat quickly. I've seen a few familiar names in the chat. Zents29, welcome back. MBL McKenzie already said hi. For those of you who are new, nice to see some new faces. Harry Dunn, Brexit Britain. But that logo looks familiar. Brexit Britain says, Pang Boy, I'm Brit Bong. Oh, new year, new name. How's it going, bud? Welcome back. Let's see. Stuart MC says, welcome back. Stuart says, I live in Mount Lake Terrace. I'm not a WA native, but I've lived in Seattle for 10 years. Well, welcome. Dominic Holden, welcome to the live stream. Dude, I love that you are waging an ideological war against Benny, especially on that subject. My sentiment, you've won before the gates even open. Well, he hasn't even showed up to the battlefield yet, so we'll see. Let's see what else we got here. Harry Dunn says, I think he's talking about Dinesh, looks like a wombat. Aw, that's mean. But wombats are cute, so maybe it's not too mean. Shalom, sup, welcome. Okay, let's keep going here.
Sachi, what is, since we're into it.
This is how it goes.
Yeah. What is a specific, concrete
Vaughn,
example of someone trying to do that?
Of trying to...
Well, somebody who says, God told me X, and I want you, Matt, therefore, to do Y.
Oh, it's
Who says that? Who takes that position that you're spending your life fighting?
Sure. So are we in any way suggesting that there's not a particularly loud and well-financed fundamentalist religious right who are stacking the courts in accordance with their ideology, which is influenced by their religious things? I have family members who are primarily single-issue voters. Like, if there's two candidates and one is set out to end abortion and the other one's not, that's the only thing that matters to them. And
I just got to recognize Ericard, the Immortal, is back with the super chat. Thank you so much for the super chat. Ericard, the Immortal, is back with Trump 2020 for the win, gents. Welcome back, the Immortal.
So I think it puts people in a position where they're probably voting against their own best interests.
Can you name, just pursuing this to see what we're talking about, can you name a single Supreme Court justice who, in your opinion, does not arrive at their judgments for any constitutional or jurisprudential or moral or philosophical reason, but simply consults a divine oracle in order to make a ruling? Can you name one of them?
Oh, no. I'm not in any way suggesting people don't genuinely have these beliefs. It's just that if people's views, like people within all of them, whether they're Supreme Court justices or not, they're going to have particular views on how the way the world's going to work. You and I are. And
sure,
there are people, I have no idea if you're one of them, there are people whose view on how the world should work should be, everything should be working in accordance with my understanding of this deity.
Well, let's take an example, because I think the discussion can become kind of airy if we don't pin it down.
Okay.
Let's talk about abortion.
Sure.
Okay. Did you know, for example, that Christopher Hitchens was pro-life?
I know, for example, that Christopher Hitchens was not pro-life.
Well,
he was there's two different aspects of this. First of all, it doesn't matter what Hitchens believed in the first place, but he wasn't in favor of making it illegal. And my primary issue when it comes to like abortion is the legality, not whether or not somebody thinks it's immoral or not.
I interviewed Hitchens years ago for a magazine, and we talked about this issue. And he made what I thought was an interesting point coming from an atheist perspective, which was, he said, look, it's one thing if you say that you believe in Hindu reincarnation in which we have many different lives, or if you believe that there is a life to come in which if you happen to be terminated in the womb, you're going to go to life everlasting. He goes, I don't believe any of that. I believe we have one life. This is it. This is the only one. And so ultimately, it is the greatest value. And if you have a life that is coming into being and it's snuffed out, all its choices interrupted at the outset, he goes, you got to think before you do that, right? Now, let's leave the legality issue, because I think the abortion debate has become radicalized since Hitchens died. Whether Hitchens would have supported...
I think everyone on this planet agrees with Dinesh there and Hitchens that you have to think before you do that. So I don't think Dinesh is really pointing anything concrete out there that everyone doesn't already agree on. I mean, Matt just nodded his head, so...
late-term abortion. We don't really know. But what I'm trying to say is that here's Hitchens.
And I don't really care.
You don't really care. But the point I'm trying to make is this. You're saying that religious people apply a worldview. And I'm saying you do too. Hitchens does too. All of us have a worldview.
I'm not, I think I just said that like 3 minutes ago. The issue is whether or not, so if somebody's saying that their worldview is right because it comes from the divine, and there's no demonstration that A, there is anything divine, or that they have any good understanding of what the divine would want, then I would hope that we would agree that that is at least a fallacious appeal to an authority that can't be demonstrated.
Well, but I would argue that first of all, none of us in America conducts a voting test in which when somebody comes into the booth and decides, for example, why do you want to have an abortion? Someone could say, because it's fun. Someone could say, because I think it's a form of birth control. Someone could say, in other words, what I'm trying to get at is we don't conduct a rational scrutiny test to make sure that people who vote about climate change, if someone says, I believe in climate change, I'm like, don't you own a house that's on the water? Yes, you do. Has that house gone down in value? No. Now,
is that the test for whether?
No. What I'm trying to say is we don't subject people's political views to a scrutiny in which we ask, are there irrational?
In what way?
Well, let's say somebody says.
I'm just trying to make sure I understand what you're saying.
Well, you're saying that when it comes to religious believers, right?
Right.
There's a.
Let's see if Dinesh gets this steel man correct when he's about to attempt to steel man Matt Dillahunty's position.
Compartment that they have, let's call it the divine compartment.
For some of them, sure.
Right, and so they appeal to this, from your point of view, irrational source, and they try to import that source into politics, which according to you is fallacious. They shouldn't be doing that. And I'm saying all kinds of people who are not religious say the wackiest things.
But
and
that's
have
a
the
two-bouquet fallacy. That's whataboutism. I would object to anybody doing things on behalf of irrational reasons. I'm just saying that...
So you would like to see our democratic process purified of the irrational?
I would like to see our universe purified of the irrational.
So I think the steel man did fail there because Matt did not agree with the picture that Dinesh painted of Matt's position on this.
Okay, and how would you go about doing that?
Education, by actually teaching people not only critical thinking, but logic and fallacies, so that instead of believing something when they don't have a good reason, they reserve belief until they do have a good reason. You shouldn't believe anything until the evidence actually supports it. Now, you're going to get into arguments about how much evidence is enough, or, do I have enough evidence for this? But we've been, on the God subject, I mean... I was just having a conversation with somebody the other day, and it's like, what is the evidence for God? What is the reason that anybody should believe there's a God at all?
Okay.
And so far, despite countless debates, nobody seems to have come up with a sound reason for that, and yet they go 10 steps further, which is not only is there a God, but it's this God, and my understanding of this God, and this is how we interact, and the Bible is the true guidebook, or the Quran is the true guidebook, and the question then becomes, we have a proposition, any proposition, whether it's God or climate change or whatever. How do we go about determining whether or not that proposition is reasonable to accept?
Okay.
And on the God front, maybe you have something better than anybody else has come up with. What is the reasonable warrant for accepting that there's a God at all?
Okay, so Matt has asked the fundamental question of, give me a good reason why one should believe in God. Let's see where Dinesh goes with this.
Okay, let me try to answer that. I start with the fact that here we are flung into the world with no clear understanding of A, where the universe came from, not the earth, but the universe. B, why we're here and what the purpose of our life is. And C, what, if anything, happens to us after we die. I would argue that, so we are in a very peculiar position where human beings were flung into the world, and the three of the most important questions we could possibly ask.
So Dinesh just made the claim, 3 of the most important questions that we could possibly ask. Do you guys agree with that? Do you think those are the most important questions that we could possibly ask? And if you disagree with those questions, please propose more important questions in the chat. Ericard the Immortal had another super chat, says all values are fundamentally religious. No, religiosity relates to God belief. We sometimes use religiosity or being religious about something colloquially as a way to describing someone who's insanely devout, like that guy's like a religious Canucks fan, like with sports teams. So colloquially, it'll be used as kind of a descriptor like that. But to say that all values are fundamentally religious is not true. I mean, the golden rule can be applied. Any values in my life that I value, the fundamentals of those are not religious. They stand on their own merits because they fit within my worldview that essentially is based around maximizing the well-being of humanity. So I don't think that's true. Let's go through a little bit of the chat here, guys. There's a lot of chat coming in, so I'll get to as much of it as I can. If you guys are feeling generous, throw a super chat the stream's way. It all goes towards translating all of our video content into Arabic and Spanish. So if you feel like making a comment and you want to make sure it gets read, create a super chat, and I really appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Brexit Britain says Matt will always come out on top because Dinesh resorts to fallacious religious arguments. There are some fallacies in this conversation, and feel free to point them out as we go along. Matt's pretty good at pointing some out, and I think it's 1 or 2 times Dinesh points out straw man from Matt's end, and I think one of them is a straw man, but I'm not sure. But I think, sometimes when debaters are being hyperbolic and they're joking, sometimes if the other one doesn't take it as a joke and they call it a straw man, then is it really a straw man, or is it just they were kidding and being hyperbolic? Dominic Holden says, when's their next debate? We're still got to sort that out, but likely sometime later this year in Texas. I think that's the plan. Kieran Ritchie says, as Dawkins says, we atheists just go one God further. Religions have a bigger problem with each other rather than versus atheism. Yeah, I mean, with regards to, for instance, the Muslim faith, Islam, Dinesh is an atheist with regards to, well, I mean, that's a bad example because Yahweh is the same God. So perhaps let's just say to Hinduism, like Dinesh would be an atheist with regards to Hinduism. So, but again, yeah, Richard and Michael Shermer says that a lot. We just go one God further as atheists, and we don't accept the God propositions on bad evidence. Um, Jason Eves with the Jim Carrey quote, "Smite me, oh mighty smiter." What else we got? Scotch, welcome to the chat, says, I like Dinesh, eloquent and intelligent, but he didn't perform up to his usual par on this one. Also, theology isn't his strong suit either. Yeah, I mean, I would say Dinesh is stronger. It's hard to be strong with theology, honestly. It just has no basis for its claims outside of faith. So, anyways, Dinesh is going to continue on to make his case here. Old School Saint says, what's good evidence look like, Travis? Something we can build a scientific model around and test. We need to be able to test claims. So if someone makes a claim, it's up to them to demonstrate how the claim is true. So you build a scientific model, you make logical arguments, and you input the evidence into this and demonstrate with evidence the claim. So if the question is, what is good evidence for a God? I don't know. I really don't know what you would collect to have good evidence for a God. It's but that's not my problem. My problem is to apply my skepticism in the same way that I would apply my skepticism if you told me that you just sprouted wings and flew to Australia and flew back here. I would say, well, you have to demonstrate that because that's an extraordinary claim. All right, let's keep going.
We have no answer to. Now
I'm going to
hold
agree
on.
with you.
Do you agree or you not agree?
I'm going to agree with you on two of the three. The middle one on purpose, I think, assumes there's a purpose that there's been no demonstration there's a purpose to it.
What, if any, purpose we have for our
Sure.
life? Okay, so now we are in agreement that on the three cardinal questions, we are in a certain kind of blindness. We're in a certain kind of blind ignorance because we don't know, correct?
Scotch says, well, how did the earth come to be? Clearly there was a creator. There are perfectly good scientific explanations for how the earth came to be. Just take 1 minute right now, go away from the live stream, and Google the scientific consensus, the answer to that question, and you'll see it. If you don't do that, then you're just avoiding looking up the information. Ericard the Immortal, please don't spam the chat. If you did do a super chat, we'll get to it eventually. Let's keep going. Oh shit, I clicked the wrong button. Sorry guys.
Believer, but in a very routinized Sunday Mass kind of way.
So the title
gotta
of this
find
event,
where we were.
when it was being promoted, and
Give me a
good
second.
understanding of what the divine would want, then I would hope that we would agree.
So you would like to see our democratic the universe, B, why we're here and what the purpose of our life is, and C, what, if anything, happens to us after we die. I would argue that, so we are in a very peculiar position. We're human beings, we're flung into the world, and the three of the most important questions we could possibly ask, we have no answer to.
Old School Saint says, come on, Travis, you just made a claim about evidence. You said it would require scientific testing. Well, yeah, like if you're going to make a claim that something exists, like a God, the burden of proof is on you to bring proof to prove the claim. So bring your evidence to the table, and if your evidence is a book that's had stuff written in it and that's just full of claims, that's not going to be good enough. Because you can write a book about anything, right? You can write a book about unicorns existing, you can write a book about Santa Claus existing. That's just we have to be able to test and evaluate claims, or else basically anything anyone says would be true, right? So we have standards for truth, and we use science to build scientific models to demonstrate what is actually true. And we can build scientific models on things like love as well. We can build these models to demonstrate love. even though it's like it can be a hard to define term because it's got quite a few different usages. And remember, words don't have intrinsic meaning; they have usages. So let's see. We got a super chat from Harry Dunn. Thank you so much. Harry Dunn is the name of Jim Carrey's counterpart in Dumb and Dumber, by the way. Awesome name. It seems to be a little silly to say that there are only 3 important questions that people should ask themselves. A smart person should say there are endless important questions. Well, I don't know about endless, because importance is an actual label for things that we hold higher than others. So, like it's like, what is the importance of an apple? Like, what on the across everything you know about reality, what is the importance of an apple, and what is the importance of a child? You know, obviously we have different levels of importance. So there are going to be some questions that are important, and other questions like, what was the color of the 80th car that drove by me yesterday? What was that? So it's like there's going to be some questions that are kind of arbitrary. Again, thank you guys for the super chats. Aricard the Immortal says we all act on faith 100% of the time. No, we don't. Faith is the reason we give. Like if someone says, why did you walk across the road? Well, I wanted to get to the other side. There's the reason. Why did you walk to the grocery store? Well, I needed to buy some bread. Those aren't, you're not acting on faith in those situations. Faith is the excuse you give when there is absent any good reason to give. So with God, if someone had a good reason to believe in God, they would give that good reason. But when you boil down these arguments and then you get to a place where the only thing someone can say is faith, well, that's just my faith, then that's just an excuse you're giving for having no good reason. Gob Barrett says, I enjoy these Pangburn events. I hope the ultra-feminist social justice brigade doesn't destroy this good thing. Yeah, fuck the haters.
Now I'm going to
Hold
agree
on.
with you.
Do you agree or you not agree?
I'm going to agree with you on 2 of the 3. The middle one, on purpose, I think assumes there's a purpose that there's been no demonstration there's a purpose to it.
What, if any, purpose we have for our
Sure.
life? Okay, so now we are in agreement that on the 3 cardinal questions, we are in a certain kind of blindness. We're in a certain kind of blind ignorance because we don't know, correct?
So I don't. So if we start it, you're saying we're flung into this universe without an understanding of the origin of the universe, the purpose of life, or what happens afterwards.
Right, where the universe came from,
Yes.
who, if anyone, or
Sure.
what made it, if anyone. B, what the purpose of our life is, if any. And C, what, if anything, happens to us after we die.
We are in violent agreement right now.
Perfect. Now, the second question arises, what does science have to say about these 3 questions? Can science either now, and if it can't now, settle these matters in the future? Let's look at them one by one. Let's take them in reverse order.
Sure.
Can science decide the matter of whether or not there is life after death, yes or no?
It depends.
Depends on what?
So science only deals with the natural world.
Correct.
And so if in fact there's a supernatural existence after this, then it may forever be beyond the purview of science.
Correct. Or if there is another universe that operates according to different laws and we happen to move somehow into that universe, science would have nothing to say about it, correct?
Not necessarily, because
Okay.
if it's a natural, like we have like hypotheses about a multiverse or whatever.
Correct.
I can't say what science will be able to test for in the future, or whether or not we are permanently confined to the cosmos that we experience. I can't say. I can't say that science could never say anything about the supernatural. All I can say is that as it stands right now, I'm unaware of any supernatural claim that has any evidence for it that science could evaluate to determine that it was true.
Right. Let's put it a little differently because we
Anything that's been detected can be tested. Is a good rule to help bring some clarity to this.
I don't want to debate the detail here. I just want to look at the macro picture. And what I'm basically saying is Shakespeare said, I think correctly, death is the undiscovered country. No one has been to the other side of the curtain and essentially reported, given us empirical evidence one way or the other, correct?
Well, so the thing about Dinesh is some people will claim they have been there. So then we have to evaluate their claims and test them, right? And so far, these people who have said that they have seen things, it's just basically their word and saying something. And then we can look from a scientific perspective and say, oh, well, the brain was, the neurological pathways were firing in very strange ways while this person was close to death. And that's what, created these thoughts of being in front of these entities or whatever and kind of being in this dreamlike state.
We don't know what happens after that.
So here's the thing, and I promise I'm not being difficult. This is just for clarity. As a skeptic, my position is not, like when the psychics who claim that they're speaking with the dead.
Right.
My position is not, they're wrong and that's bullshit. My position is they cannot demonstrate that what they're actually doing is what they claim. And so I can't say nobody's been to the other side and communicated back. I can just say there's no reliable evidence for it, and I don't know what shape that evidence would take in order.
Yeah, so Matt's just basically saying as a skeptic, you don't take on the burden of proof in that sense. You just hold claim makers responsible. So there's claim vomit all over the planet, always. And as a skeptic, you just need to hold the claim makers responsible. And it doesn't mean you can't make your own claims as skeptics, but if you're evaluating claims, just make sure that the burden of proof has been met.
To demonstrate that.
Okay, I want to come back to that because that you've now made to me a very striking claim, namely that we should, I think you're saying, disbelieve all claims.
Opposer of religion says, Trav, thanks for the super chat. Trav, stop pretending you know what you're talking about. Why don't you be more specific? Make your claim.
For which there is not sufficient evidence.
So,
not just that we should take an agnostic position, but we should disbelieve them. That's two different things.
Oh, so if you mean disbelieve as in believe they are not true, that's the exact opposite of what I just said.
Okay.
What I said was we should believe things when there's evidence for it, and that is both the proposition that the supernatural is real and the proposition that the supernatural is not real.
Okay.
You can so agnosticism isn't some middle ground between believing X and believing not X. There is no middle ground. You are either convinced of X or you are not convinced of X. And I'm not convinced that the supernatural is real. That doesn't mean that I'm convinced that the supernatural isn't real. It's kind of like if you go into a courtroom,
okay,
I may have to say not guilty, even if I'm not convinced of innocence, because the burden of proof is on the claim of guilt. And so the people who say, I have good evidential warrant to believe in the supernatural, have adopted a burden of proof, and they have to meet it. And until they do, I am not convinced.
Okay, but let's be clear about what that burden of proof is, because I'm not saying I have definitive proof that God exists or these are his attributes. Here's what I'm saying. I'm saying I don't know if there is a God in the sense of no. I'd call myself a believer. Now, right away we distinguish between a believer and a knower, right?
Sure,
it's an important distinction.
Is a subset of belief.
I believe there's a place called Papua New Guinea because I trust maps and I've studied about it. But I know my brother. I wouldn't say I believe I have a brother because I know the guy. So knowledge.
Are you saying you don't know that there's a Papua New Guinea?
No, I'm saying I know it in the sense that I accept the authorities from which I learn about it.
Sure.
I trust it.
Well,
and if I went
clarity,
there,
it's not just relying on authorities, it's actual evidence. So you have a belief in a proposition.
right.
Whether or not it qualifies as knowledge is a separate question because knowledge is a subset of belief. In philosophy, it would be justified true belief. I tend to use a more kind of colloquial because I'm a dilettante. I'm an uneducated oaf who just talks a lot. But if you have a proposition and you accept that it's true, that's all I mean when I say I believe it. You either accept it or you don't. If I say I know it, all we generally
Oafs don't use the word dilettante.
all most people mean when they say I know something is that they really, 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 really believe it. They're talking about the confidence level that they have in that proposition that it is likely true. And when we say I know something, generally we're saying I believe this to the extent that it would be worldview altering to discover it was wrong. And so I believe there's a Papua New Guinea. I would actually argue that I know, I have evidential warrant that there's a Papua New Guinea without actually ever having been there. This is, people used to do the, oh, well, you don't know there's an Australia. Well, I do now because I've been there. But even before I was there, I think that I had evidential warrant for it.
Yeah, but okay, I agree with that. And I know that there's a Papua New Guinea in that sense. Let's take a different example. If, let's say I were to tell you I'm from India. Okay? You have no reason to doubt me. You probably...
Opposer of religion says, Dillahunty's right. He's got like a high school education and no training in philosophy. He's terrible. What a stupid comment. Let's go through this. Dillahunty's right. He's got like a high school education. That has nothing to do with the validity of his argument. Are you just making an argument from authority? Is that what you're going to do here, opposer of religion? And you just make the blanket statement he's terrible? Why don't you demonstrate how Matt Dillahunty is terrible? Everyone, I'm challenging opposer of religion to demonstrate how Matt Dillahunty is terrible.
believe I'm from India.
Yeah.
Now, you don't actually know that.
It depends on what you mean by no.
Well,
and
are you 100% sure?
No. Is 100% certainty required for knowledge?
Not necessarily, but
I would
what's
agree.
your bar?
So I don't think you can be 100% certain about anything.
Okay.
Which is why I abandon the notion of certainty, which is why when I talk about knowledge, I talk about it as a subset of belief and it is a confidence level. But also, I genuinely don't really, I'm unimpressed when someone says they know something, because we don't wait till we have knowledge to act. We act in accordance with our beliefs, and whether or not your belief rises to the level of knowledge doesn't change what your action's going to be.
All right. So let's sort of circle back to where I was going.
Okay. Brexit Britain says, I value things because to me I take pleasure in its existence. I do not need a God for that, since I can take pleasure in my own imagination. Aviator Trevor, welcome to the chat, says, I've met people with degrees in computer science that know less about programming than people with no computer science degree. Yeah, anyone who's trying to make this, that's why the argument from authority fallacy just is nothing. It's an empty rebuttal. It's an empty argument. All that matters is the content of the argument. That's what matters. It doesn't matter the letter grades behind the person who is saying it. This is a common failure in colloquial thinking.
With the three big questions. And I think
We started with death.
you were in violent agreement that the cause, that we don't know, the cause of the universe, we don't know any prescribed purpose for our lives. We try to discover it, but we don't know it. And we don't know what happens after death.
Yeah, I'm not convinced that anything does, but I definitely would agree. We don't know.
Fair enough. Now, let me ask you this question. What do you do about belief when you are in exactly this position? If something is true, it would have tremendous implications. For example, you would concede that if there was life after death, that would greatly affect the way we think about life on Earth now.
It would.
Depending on what that life looked like.
And depending on whether or not anything in this life had any impact on that life.
Correct.
But
right.
yes.
So let's just say if the religious narratives are correct, and there is some sort of cosmic justice in which, let's just say, the crimes that are the undiscovered crimes of this life have to be accounted for in a future life, we would probably have to start thinking about all the stuff that we get away with in private, because even though we escape human accounting, there would be some sort of presumably divine accounting. So in other words, all I'm trying to establish is that there's a relevance to these questions.
Presumably a divine accounting. Why? Why would there be a divine accounting? None of the divine claims have met their burden of proof.
Even if we don't definitively know anything about them, anything about the answer matters which way we go.
I agree the answer matters. It's just that the answer right now is I don't know, and you can play the what if game for any one of them. What if there's nothing? What if it's the end? What if there's a being who's going to judge you based on whether or not you fell for things without sufficient evidence? What if that's the criteria?
Okay, so what you seem to say is I think about something, and if I really can't answer the question, right, I take the default position that that something doesn't exist until evidence shows up that's going to convince me it does.
Of course.
That's your view.
That is sound epistemology, that accepting...
Sound epistemology according to whom? According to you.
Sure. Well, let's go according to me, because I don't need to cite anybody else.
Right.
Because I'm right. Because...
Okay, hold on. So let's see if you're right. Let's see if you're right.
The alternative would be to say that I'm justified in believing something before there's sufficient evidence for it.
But I would argue that you do that every day. Let's give you a cardinal example.
But that doesn't change the fact whether I should.
You should. I'm saying you do.
We're all
going
to make mistakes.
You do and you should. Look, our life is always lived in anticipation of an unknown future, right? You're dating a woman.
Yes.
And so what you do is, you, being a very reasonable guy, plug in all this data, right, about this woman, and you're trying to make a rational decision. Let's say, is this the woman I want to spend my life with? Let's assume you're thinking about that question.
For the sake of your argument, we'll assume I'm thinking about that.
Okay.
Okay, opposer of religion, I asked you to demonstrate how Matt Dillahunty is terrible, and you come back with like 45 million emojis, laughing emojis, and then you say, Trav is another basic atheist just parroting his atheist leaders because he doesn't know better, LOL. Okay, so you didn't bring anything to the table. So you're just going to keep making claims and not demonstrating them.
Now, I would argue that in reality, given the way human beings are, you could never really know what life with this person is going to be like, let's just say over the next 30 years. First of all, you'll be different people in 10 years, different people in 30 years. So this question about what it's going to be like is unanswerable with any high degree of certainty, correct?
Yeah, which is one of the reasons why I, unlike many religions, actually support the notion of divorce and am opposed to the notion that there's a soulmate out there that you're going to be everything to forever. If we're both in agreement that we don't know what the future holds, I don't make a decision
but
to
if
say...
you'll pardon me, that's a tediously predictable response. I'm not going there. Where I'm going with is the fact...
I didn't think you were going there.
No, because... Right. Where I'm really going with is the fact that in making a decision of whether or not to be with this person, yes or no, you are necessarily taking a huge...
Andrew Atkins says, God's silence is very strong evidence the Christian God doesn't exist. The Christian God defined as a loving, all-powerful being who desires to have a relationship with humanity. Yeah, if you're talking about levels of certainty, whether you can get away with the claim that almost certainly not these gods don't exist, but you just don't want to adopt the absolute certainty burden of proof, like this God doesn't exist, because then you adopt a burden of proof. It's just better to take the atheist position and the skeptic position to make the claim maker provide the evidence for their claim.
Leap of faith.
No. See, that's the thing. The way I operate my life, and maybe I'm a weirdo, is, so for example, in this case, I have no plans to end this relationship, and neither does she. But we are both adults, and there were 2 rules. Be honest, have fun. That's it. That's all. Be honest, enjoy life. And as long as we're both honest, we can reevaluate the nature of our relationship at any point. I am friends with every one of my exes, including my ex-wife, who I just spoke to. We went into it with this optimism that perhaps we would spend the rest of our lives together, and with the realistic notion that it doesn't happen. Anybody who, the divorce rate's 50 some odd %, anybody who goes into a marriage now thinking, we're never going to get divorced, is already in opposition with the actual data. And so I, as a huge proponent of David Hume, one of my favorite quotes from him, is that the wise man proportions his belief to the evidence. So my confidence in any proposition, including this particular relationship lasting until I die.
Floyd Mayweather Sr. says, opposer of religion, can you trigger Pangburn again? It's not being triggered to ask someone to demonstrate their claim. Daniel Demore says, Pangburn, I think you are my dad. I'm sorry I wasn't there, son. Anthony D says, if Matt had red horns on his head, he would look like the devil with that outfit. That was the plan behind that jacket selection, I'm pretty sure.
is based on whatever data I have. I don't have some delusion that some other people want to run around with. I've found the person and we're definitely going to be together forever because life is uncertain. And it seems that rather than engaging in that self-deception, I'm fine saying, this is what I hope happens. I hope that I am with you for the rest of my life. I hope that, or for the rest of our lives or whatever. But I don't have an unrealistic expectation.
But don't you make plans?
Sure, I make plans for tomorrow because that's the pragmatic.
You don't buy insurance, you don't build homes, you don't make plans, you don't put money into a 401k, and you don't put money into educational funds.
Yes.
You do. Right. So in other words,
that's because I have a reasonable confidence based on data about how long I'm likely to live and what benefits are likely to be rewarded from there.
Based on
not an exercise of faith.
So this is where I disagreed on my podcast with Dinesh a lot, because Dinesh likes to say, well, you have faith in all these other things to do with all these other aspects of life, so my faith is justified in God. And it's like, well, no, it's not the same thing. It's not, you don't have this faith going into a relationship. You've built a model based on your experiences with that person. You've built a scientific model in your mind of who that person is. It's, I just couldn't disagree with Dinesh more, how he tries to shift faith over into all of these real life situations.
Let me ask you this.
Because what you're talking about is confidence in the absence of certainty. But my confidence is proportional to the evidence. The fact that there isn't certainty about the future doesn't mean that it's an exercise of faith.
I'm saying that the evidence you're invoking is bogus, because according to you, if the divorce rate were 5%, you would make lifetime plans, because according to you, there's a much higher chance, 90.
Harpazio Music says, I'm proud of Dinesh because even though he doesn't have a lot of strong arguments, he does challenge Matt a few times like no other has, and Dinesh is quick to surrender a viewpoint after a rebuttal. Yeah, I actually think Dinesh applied a lot of really good faith arguments in this, and the way he just conducted himself in this discussion, I think, and same with Matt, I think they both approached this discussion in good faith. If you guys are watching this live stream, please give it a thumbs up and make sure you are subscribed to the channel. I really appreciate it. It helps us bring you guys more content at a quicker rate. Okay.
5% probability.
No, that's not remotely what I said.
Well, it is kind of what you said.
I would make lifetime plans because I hope to have a lifetime, not because what the divorce rate is.
Well,
I know what the life expectancy is for people in the United States. For me, roughly, I can make a rough guess as to, barring some other consequences, how long I'm going to live. So, of course, I'm going to plan for the future. You plan for what you were optimistically hoping for. But I could get hit by a bus out here in New York where, by the way, it doesn't matter which direction you're walking down these streets, the wind is always in your face. Sorry.
That may be true. Look, I think life is lived in the moment. We look at memory as a reliable, although not very reliable, account of the past, but we trust it. Even though, again, if someone were to demand we substantiate that trust, we'd be a little hard-pressed to do it.
It would be
memory is very selective. Other people remember different things than you remember, and so on. And life has an unknown future stretching in front of us. Now, at all times in history, people are in huge ignorance about the world, large parts of which in the past were completely unknown. If I was Socrates walking in Athens in the 5th century BC, and I looked up in the sky, I'd see 7 stars, right? Now, if I was taking the rationalist position, I would say, well, I see 7 stars. I have no reason to believe that there are any more stars in the sky. And
hey, just for clarity.
Yes.
Are you saying this is remotely accurate, or is this just an example? Because anybody who thinks that back then people only saw 7 stars, I got problems with.
No, fair enough.
Okay.
Fair enough. I'm using the limited radius of our empirical knowledge.
I knew that. Just for your benefit, it's an analogy. Yeah,
right.
You got it.
And you know so the ancients knew the Earth is round and so on. But the point here is that you have this limited body of data. But if you really reflect on the data, and you also reflect on yourself, right away you see, hey, I'm Socrates. I've never moved 5 miles away from the place I was born. I don't even know how big the Earth is. There could very well be a whole bunch of other stars out there, and just because I have not 1 ounce of empirical evidence for them, I can't be close to them or declare them out of bounds or declare that my whole life is to be lived without regard to that possibility.
Well,
Because it's a very real possibility.
So let's say you and I both lived on this particular plot of land in New York our entire lives, and we had only ever seen 7 stars.
Right.
I'm not ruling out the possibility that there are 7 other stars. I'm
Right.
dealing with people who are saying there are more than 7 stars, and they can provide no evidence for it.
So summarizing this huge chunk between Dinesh and Matt, Matt is okay with saying, I don't know. And Dinesh has a problem saying, I don't know. Dinesh thinks that human beings need to construct explanations of ideas of things outside of what we don't yet understand. And really, I think it's more intellectually honest to say, I don't know, until we have evidence to at least build a scientific model. And you know, we understand now what we can consider good evidence, like utterings from a prophet's mouth who just said, I just had a vision of you know, the world coming to an end in 2012. And we understand that that is not good evidence anymore. We used to think, you know, go back thousands of years, we used to think that this should be taken seriously as good evidence, but we've moved past that. So, you know, saying I don't know is not a bad thing. It's a thing in science that's exciting. The questions that we don't know, the I don't knows out there. Those are exciting things that a lot of scientists look forward to looking into more and finding those initial pieces of evidence to build scientific models.
Right, but let's just say that those people who say that there are more than 7 stars, right, have the following type of
Are we actually debating flat Earth in the chat? Holy shitballs. How did that happen?
reason for saying that. They say, first of all, let's just say that we're part of a natural universe, right? This is Kant's the starry heavens above. And they also know that I can't see very far, so because I only see 7 stars and I know that I can't.
All right. Let's see. Are we back? I think we're back. Let's see. Let me know if you guys can hear me. Sorry, I do not know what happened there. It was a some kind of crash, guys. Sorry about that. Yeah, we are back. Okay, cool. That was really weird. Not sure what happened. I have no idea. So we were at, I believe, we were at 33. Just going to fill up my water quickly and then we'll get back to it. Yeah, there's lots of trolls in the comments, guys. It's all good. Trolls got to eat too. I think it was all that flat earth conversation did it. Crashed the internet. Okay. Just going to fill up my water. I'll be right back. All right. Well, we made it back, so cool. Yeah, it's either God, the intellectual dark web, or flat earthers that just stopped this stream. Okay, cool. Let's, I guess we'll keep going with this.
So we have deductive reasoning, and then we have inferences, which is basically where science operates, and then there's abductive reasons. And abductive is going to be the weakest. And abductive is going to be arguing towards the best explanation. And in that case, we need candidate explanations. What you're talking about is an inference that seems intuitive, but has no evidence to actually support it.
It does.
The fact that I can only see so far should guide my brain to say I should not be reaching conclusions about what is beyond my ability to see.
Okay, so let's take, for example, you've seen a certain number of dogs in your life, correct?
Yeah, tons of them. She
Okay.
stops at every one.
Right. Above and beyond that, you haven't seen other dogs that are outside the radius of your empirical experience, true?
Correct.
Do you believe that there are other dogs other than the ones you've seen?
I have evidence of other dogs on Earth.
What's that evidence?
I've seen video footage. I have.
Okay,
met
but
people
let's
in
just say the
different-
video footage, let's count those among the dogs you've seen. What about the dogs you haven't seen?
Sure.
You believe they exist?
On Earth, yes, but if you tell me that I should then believe that there are dogs on Saturn, that's the level of thing we're talking about.
No,
here.
it's not. It's not. Absolutely not. See, this is the heart of the matter. This is the heart of the matter. Because according to you, religious people believe that there is a God who, like in ancient Greece, inhabits the natural world that's living on another planet. And so your reasoning is at the level of the cosmonauts who go up into the sky and go, no God up here, therefore God doesn't exist.
No, that's not it.
Well, you just said that I'm proclaiming a dog on Saturn.
Yes.
And I'm saying that's not what I'm doing at all.
So if I can only see 7 stars, there is a weak inference that.
Okay, let's go through the chat here. I'm seeing like tards everywhere. Let's see what's going on here. I gotta read some of these. Okay, let's start with this one. Dominic Holden says, my balls are flat. I don't even know what context this is in. The Immortal says, still haven't read my second super chat. Read my first and third. Yeah, I'm going to have to go back and see if I can find that. Dominic Holden says, change my mind. Breaking Down the Wall of Lies says, the horizon always rises in the eye level of the observer as altitude is gained, so you never have to look down to see it. If Earth were, in fact, a globe, no matter how large, as you ascend, the horizon would stay fixed. And no, just Google the thing that you said, and you will find the scientific, the general consensus in the scientific community, their answer as to why that is. MBL McKenzie says, the only flat here is your mom. Oh, nailed it. Smote, I don't know where that comes from. Milky War says, flat Earth is a pretty great lie of these times. Yeah, Noodle Mass says, flat Earthers can't prove any points. They can only beat you down with stupidity. Wow. The intellectual flat god. Jordan Vargas says, the intellectual flat god at the Pangburn. I love it. The chat's moving really fast, guys. It's just bouncing on me. Ericard the Immortal says, your definition of faith is wrong, Travis. Tell me why it's wrong, Immortal. Tell me why it's wrong. I didn't say God is not. I didn't say God is not required. I did not say God is not required for faith. It's just faith is the excuse one gives when there is no good reason to give in its stead. They say faith because if they had good reason, they would say the good reason. Floyd Mayweather Sr. says, Pangburn, why is there a red dot on my left nut? I suggest you go see your GP about that. I couldn't tell you. I could give you some guesses as to why it may be there or what it is. Jordan Vargas says the Pangburn literally just Googled the definition of faith and put it on the screen for chat to see. Yeah, the thing about definitions, it's like, again, I care about how people individually are using the term. Sometimes the definition in Webster's or whatever cannot be exactly how it's colloquially used. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up, and explore all of our live event content on this channel and all the other content. Love to have you as subscribers. Okay, I guess we will keep going here.
There may be more stars, but to believe there actually are more stars isn't yet justified by the evidence. The dog example on Earth, even though I have not experienced every dog, I can actually do pretty much a rough estimate of dog by searching through data on how much dog food we sell, how many people buy Kong things for their dogs, how many Pets R Us are scattered around the world. There's all sorts of data that get to this thing where now it is a strong inference that there is a dog in China that I have never met and will never meet. Do I believe that that's the case? Yes, because that's where the data point to. To go beyond what the data show, to say that just because I know that I have a limit to my vision and I can see 7 stars, therefore I believe there are more, that is to go beyond what the data presents. You could, though, invent a telescope and improve your vision and get new data, which is exactly what we did to discover that we don't just live in the one and only galaxy and that the Earth isn't the center of the universe. Once we got that data, we began to have a better understanding of it. There are things, like the Higgs boson, for example, which are a part of theoretical physics that we didn't have physical, empirical evidence for, but that the math pointed to. I'm not in any way denying that math is good data, which is one of the reasons why, well, all right, I won't go there yet because we're still on.
Well, I mean, here we are on common ground. If you're talking about science, if you're talking about quantum physics, if you're talking about relativity, if you're talking about the Big Bang, if you're talking about evolution, we have nothing to argue about. I'm on board with you 100%.
Hang on, you included science in that.
Science, yes. I'm on board
with... Does that include climate change science?
Climate change is, at least in the public sense it's understood, in no way science.
Okay, we'll probably get back to that after we're done.
We can come back to that.
O-9-team, I believe you're new to the chat and the channel. Welcome, welcome. Appreciate it. Says, at the Pangburn, any man claims, quote, I have seen or understood God fully well and can vouch for its existence in any form or shape. That person is a blatant liar, and Earth is an apple-like spherical ball. So they're not necessarily a blatant liar. We can be convinced of all kinds of delusional things, or we can hallucinate and believe those things were actually true in reality, not just in our imagination or in our mind. So it doesn't mean necessarily that they are a blatant liar. They may be presenting something that they actually believe is true, but actually is not demonstrated, does not have sufficient evidence. So I would contest the blatant liar part, but but they're wrong if they are presenting something as fact, and claiming that a God exists, and they haven't met their burden of proof, and there isn't sufficient evidence that they've offered, then they shouldn't be holding that position. Keith Connolly says, I want this channel to get exposure and growth, but the chat was so much better with 30 people. Well, it's one of those things. Bring that same... Keith Connolly, thanks for the comment, and thanks for always being here. Just bring that same requirement of good argumentation, good faith conversation to the table. All of you guys who have been here lots, you guys understand what Pangburn is all about. It's about having good faith conversations, and like I say in the new video, being a crybaby does not make your argument stronger. So try to bring that same attitude to this chat, and hopefully it will catch on. But it's not going to be a perfect system, and it does get tiresome. But the more people that are engaging here. Vic Vaughn, welcome back. Welcome, welcome. Again, if you're joining us, Catch22 says, the Pangburn, a belief is not a claim. Well, if it's a belief someone holds, but if someone claims I believe X, it's still a claim. It's still a claim. I'm surprised. I don't know where all the flat earthers came from, but yeah, interesting. I don't think we've ever had a flat earther in this chat before.
But it is in no way science.
I'm not a climate scientist.
No,
so it's,
I mean, I am on board 100% with the science of the greenhouse effect. When people say 97% of scientists, and you actually look at what 97% of scientists believe, they believe in the greenhouse effect. And the greenhouse effect is simply basically saying the release of carbon into the atmosphere warms the atmosphere. You'll get no disagreement from me on that. Now, there are several other propositions.
Okay, we're getting into climate change now. So everyone listen very carefully. Let's do a little bit of fact checking here. Let's see who fails on what during this part of the exchange.
That are married to that, I think, smuggled under the carpet, things like human beings are the primary cause of these differences. Second of all, the best way to tackle them is to change ultimately the temperature of the earth in various ways that we could try to affect through human behavior.
Your objection is we will get back to God like right after this. I don't know how far apart we are, and I have no expertise there, but it seems that your objection is primarily about how much are we the cause, what can we potentially do about it, what are the potential solutions, less so than what's happening.
Well, I mean, look, yeah, normally if I walk out and it's really hot.
Adam Snyder says you need to accept when someone says, I believe X, unless you can prove otherwise. No. You don't need to accept it. And you don't, the burden of proof is on the person presenting what they believe, making the claim of what they believe. If they want to demonstrate that it's actually a valid belief, you need to demonstrate it. And this is the example I always use. If I claim that I believe that there are fairies, invisible fairies flying around my head that only I can see, your response should not be, yeah, I guess those fairies do exist unless I can prove that they don't. It's like, good luck proving that they don't. And it's like there's a reason why we evaluate claims this way, that the claim maker has to demonstrate what they're claiming exists, because the default position is the I don't know. Basically the default position is when you're born, you essentially know nothing. You have some instinct, but you know nothing.
There are two possibilities. One is I can try to change the outdoor temperature, right? The other is I can take off my jacket. Those are two ways to respond to the same phenomenon.
Unless you're a polar bear.
Unless you're a polar bear. Now, there's a woman who counts the number of polar bears on the earth. And she has nothing to do with climate change. She did a report a couple of years ago saying there are more polar bears walking on the earth than ever. The polar bear population has multiplied. Now, right away she finds herself in controversy. Why? Not because her counting is wrong. It's difficult to count polar bears, admittedly, but she's the best one doing it in the world. But the reason she's controversial is it's not supposed to be the case. The glaciers are supposed to be melting, the habitat's changing, the polar bears disappearing. So the very fact that there are all these polar bears thriving and running around is like a major embarrassment. And so you have to dump on her and attack her. But even though she's giving you a valuable piece of data, scientific data, that bears upon the truth of this hypothesis. The hypothesis is that the Earth is getting hotter. Now think of it. The Earth is getting hotter by a degree or so Celsius over 100 years. And this is measured by things, in effect, putting thermometers in the ocean, which depend upon how far the thermometers are from the coastline, what the level of the ocean is at the... And these measurements are then modeled, in other words, put into computer programs to generate conclusions which ultimately have massive implications for the world economy. So what I'm getting at is, there are people who are asking us to change our way of life because of a 1-degree move in the climate. Now, my view on climate change is this. I watch the people who say this to see how serious they are about it. The very people who say
There's
this.
your mistake.
Well, for example, I look at Mike Bloomberg. Mike Bloomberg owns, I believe, 11 homes.
Can we stop looking at Mike Bloomberg? Because
Well,
those ads are everywhere. Like I got to Times Square and it's like right there. Every time turn around, Mike Bloomberg.
but I'm just
Anyway, go
saying,
ahead.
here's a guy who says it's going to be a priority for him as president. And I would say, really, if you have 11 homes, shouldn't you go down to 7?
Well,
If you really thought that your carbon imprint is a little too big.
No, see the thing where Dinesh is missing here, just because they think it's a problem and that this eventually will become more of a problem, doesn't mean that they aren't necessarily. It doesn't mean that they necessarily know how quickly that is going to happen. So it's a difference of, well, we don't really understand when this is going to take effect to a serious level. We have some equations that can help predict things to some level when we're trying to evaluate how much time we have, but it's usually there's a variance of a couple hundred years in that. So obviously these people who are living now on Earth are going to continue living their lives and buying their property where they see fit, or based on beauty, or based on what they enjoy doing and like.
I would completely agree with you there, but Mike's hypocrisy isn't really relevant to what the data
Are we
show.
talking about the hypocrisy of everybody? Because,
No, I'm talking about what the data show.
okay, here's the data. Everyone can see this data, okay? Now, the Obamas, who are major apostles of this data, just bought a $12 million house right on the ocean, right on the water in Martha's Vineyard.
Okay.
These are the same people who are saying that in 12 years or 10 years, Miami will be engulfed by the ocean. The oceans are going to rise and swamp coastal properties, right? And my point is not just that the Obamas are hypocrites. That would be one small piece of data by itself. Here's my point. If the data is believed, if it's plausible, if it's even probable, if there's even a 50% chance that that would be the case, real estate properties worldwide on the coast would plummet. On the inland would rise. But the fact that that's not happening anywhere to my knowledge tells me this. Real estate agents know it's bullshit. Buyers know it's bullshit. Sellers know it's bullshit. Everybody knows it's bullshit.
Curiously,
So-
all those people have no scientific foundation to assess the data. Maybe,
wait, hold on.
Maybe those people
No,
are
hold
buying
on.
those because they know we're screwed and they only got a few years left to spend their millions. Might as well enjoy it on the coast.
So Matt had a bit of a fallacious slip up there, where he was getting ready to apply, or did apply to some degree, a argument from authority, because just because these people who bought there and they're saying these things, just because they're not scientists doesn't mean they don't have a clear understanding of the scientific evidence.
Really? That's what you think?
When I'm evaluating this, and first of all, I definitely want to get back to the God thing. I'm not a climate scientist. I'm not going to pretend any expertise, and there are areas of this where you and I are going to be in agreement. But when I'm trying to figure out whether or not something is real, I'm looking at the science and what the experts have to say, and you're looking at whether or not the Obamas are hypocrites, or whether Bloomberg's a hypocrite. That is not a sound epistemology to determine whether or not the climate is, okay.
Well, a couple of things. First of all, the climate scientists are, and I think this is more true of this branch of science than it is generically true, they're highly interested observers of this phenomenon. Climate science is a massively funded enterprise. It gets gigantic dollars, and the gigantic dollars are aimed at finding a predetermined.
Arukard the Immortal with the super chat says, oh, he's wrong again. Says, real estate folks have faith in their investment. No, they can look at previous real estate trends in that area when they're buying. There's plethoras of evidence that they are applying to buying this piece of real estate. There's so much evidence available. It's not just when you ask them, what were your reasons for purchasing this property here? Oh, well, it's just my faith. That's not the way home buyership goes. That's not the way That's not the way you go about purchasing property and spending tons of money. You collect evidence. You figure out whether you're buying on a floodplain. You figure out if you're buying in an area where there's possibly going to be mass erosion. Like there's all kinds of things. Whether you're buying under a volcano, there's tons of things that you're taking into consideration. This is a big scientific model that you're building, whether to determine whether this is a good purchase or not, a sound purchase. This isn't faith. That's you just demonstrated the exact problem with trying to apply to say something like, oh, you have faith when you buy this. It's no, that's just patently wrong. Floyd Mayweather Sr. says, Pangburn, do you think you could beat up Shapiro in a fist fight? Yeah. I have quite a bit of experience there. Yes.
Conclusion. I don't think you're innocent of the idea that researchers get huge grants.
I just want to stream all my favorite shows on my TV.
All your faves in one place.
Folks.
Shaw Blue Curve TV.
Oh, there we go. Shaw Blue
Take researchers who get huge grants from pharmaceutical companies. Take researchers
Except
who get...
this is bull.
This is bull.
Yes, because now the bulk of the world has at least, let's assume that the climate change stuff is BS. The bulk of the world has bought into it and are making efforts to change things, to change the way we live our lives, mostly so we can have a life. But now, wouldn't there be more money in the people who are actually going out to debunk this? This is the sort of conspiracy level thinking that people raise about science all the time. Oh, the money is leading them towards this conclusion. There's money in anything that you can demonstrate to be true. This is why I don't buy into the big pharma conspiracy stuff of trying to keep us sick, et cetera.
Okay.
Because there's money in a cure, there's money in new diseases, there's money in this, there's money in that, there's money.
Where's the money in debunking it? Let's say I have charts right here, and I show you the whole thing is BS. Who's going to pay me?
All those people buying coastal properties that you think are hypocrites.
Why would they pay me?
Because now...
I think Matt should have went to, if you can demonstrate that there is a major hole and some kind of leap of faith in some theory that's been created around the global warming crisis or climate change, then you're going to become a lead figure that companies that produce fossil fuel burning things, you're an entity they're going to go to and want to support and have you speak on their behalf or get a high-paying job with them. So I think instead of going to back to the property thing, going to that example would have been a lot easier.
If you can demonstrate that it's BS, now their property values go up even more because now...
That just means they'll give the money to the real estate agents and to the buyers, but how are they going to fund me?
One thing I should say, Floyd Mayweather Sr., even though I think I could beat up Ben Shapiro, I would never want to. Like, it's a different thing if we both agreed to a fair fight, like a boxing match or a UFC fight or something like that, then whatever. It's a sport, and I'm down with playing any sport. But this really has nothing to do with. I mean, I like Ben. I think Ben's a pretty awesome dude and a pretty good thinker. But I think he's just completely dead wrong on this infant genital cutting thing, and he should quit it. He should cut it out because he's giving excuses to future parents that listen to his platform to keep cutting baby dicks, which is completely barbaric. It's like, I've been talking about this forever. People like Joe Rogan have been talking about it forever. And it's funny when people get caught off guard who really haven't thought about this and they're like, oh, you're against circumcision? It's like Barry Weiss was a really good example of that when Joe Rogan called her out and she didn't realize she was walking right into a hornet's nest. But she was a perfect example of someone who just accepted on just for whatever reason she had that, oh, this was okay and this is normal and it's fine. It's just, yeah, it's absurd. Bal Diablo says Ben would whip your ass, Pangburn. Jim Jones says, you are damn fucking right on circumcision, Pangburn. Yeah, I think I am too. Ericard the Immortal says, your argument against my faith claim was a straw man conflating evidence with perfect knowledge. No, it wasn't. Ericard the Immortal needs to research logical fallacies. I implore you. Okay, let's watch...
How do I benefit?
You're suggesting that people will fund people to do research towards a foregone conclusion that benefits them, unless it's the foregone conclusion that benefits them that I mentioned.
No, I'm saying that it's simple common sense that when there is a proposition that leads to certain climate change is a huge industry. It is a multi-billion-dollar industry. You look like a guy like Al Gore. Al Gore's been a government servant his whole life. Do you realize Al Gore has a net worth of $200 million? How did he get $200 million? He got $200 million through climate change. Okay, it's a very profitable business.
Okay.
The debunkers of climate change are sitting in obscure research institutions collecting a $55,000 salary.
Which I would argue.
Harry Dunn says, Pangburn, what's your martial arts background? Fist fighting, hockey fighting.
Is an ad hominem fallacy that says nothing about whether or not
no,
the data...
it's not. No, it's not ad hominem fallacy.
It is.
It's pointing to the fact that research is not disinterested. That's not an ad hominem
Al Gore's
point.
not doing research. The fact that he can profit off something is independent from what researchers are finding out. You don't get to shame researchers because they made some damn money.
But I'm saying the researchers profit in a huge way too. Look at climate scientists and look at the money that goes into the
I will investigate how much climate science.
But when you said something else as well, which I think reflects a lack of understanding of markets, which is you said the real estate agents, the stock market, the real estate appraisals, those people are not scientists, right? Those people may not be scientists, but they are in a business where they put their money where their mouth is.
Yes.
Right? So in other words, it's one thing for me to say, I'm running for president and the earth is getting hotter. It's another thing for me to say, you know what, I'm living in this house on the ocean, it's $1 million, it's going to be worthless in 12 years, I should sell it to Dinesh for $100,000. Because it's literally going to be worth zero.
The fact that they don't necessarily believe that doesn't say anything. An individual's belief about what they think is going to happen with respect to climate change says nothing about what the data show with respect to climate change. You're talking about how convinced people are. You might as well be running around claiming, and to get back to the God thing, because we still got the supernatural and the afterlife and the origin of the universe. This argument is essentially the same as saying, look at how many people believe it and how strongly they believe it and how some of them are willing to sacrifice their lives for this. That must mean it's true. No, that gets to what humans do or don't believe, which is why your objection about hypocrisy is one that I share. The fact that there may be hypocrites, or maybe they're just looking at it and saying, hey, I got this money, I'll do this, we'll see what happens. Maybe the world will change, maybe it won't.
Here's the problem.
That's all irrelevant to what the actual fact of the matter is with
That was a strong stream of consciousness by Matt there.
regard to climate change or God.
Well, let's focus on climate change for a second. We'll turn to God in a moment. All I'm trying to say is that here is an issue that is transporting itself into the domain of public policy. Mm-hmm. So it's not an issue of pure science. This is not like, was Einstein right in that E equals mc square, and we can send somebody to go look at an eclipse and verify verify that Einstein's prediction was true. That's an argument in the domain of pure science. In the climate change argument, it's going to have to come into the public domain because we're asked to make decisions like don't use plastic straws and change.
I agree.
Right.
And but now we've moved from what the data show about what is happening to what we should do about it. And there, I think there's plenty of room for disagreement, discussion, everything else.
That's where the disagreement's occurring. It's not occurring over, if you're telling me that the Earth has warmed by 1 degree over the last 100 years, I grant that to you. I say, what have you really shown me so far? Very little. Very little.
Sure.
Okay.
But neither of us are climate scientists.
Exactly, and fair enough.
And you're
Matt keeps going to that. I can't see the relevance here. Because you can continue a conversation about climate science without being a climate scientist, because you can go back and forth of your general understanding, even if it's very fringe, and then you can say things like, well, if that stat is true, I would agree, or if X, and not that they have to spend a lot of time on it, but Matt doesn't have to always retract back to this, and it seems like he's done it a few times as a bit of a safety net.
You'll be right.
And these are the same, by the way, these are the same climate scientists who told us, the same climate scientists who told us in the 70s and 80s that the Earth was cooling. Yes.
The same guys in the 70s?
Well, I mean, it's...
Are they like 84 now?
Well, okay, fair enough.
All right.
Fair enough. So you're telling me now that even though we're measuring the same duration, i.e. not 1980 to now, but let's just take, for example, the Earth from 1900 to 1980. You're telling me that...
You guys, I see a lot of conversation about belief. Just one thing to keep in mind is that you have to be convinced of your beliefs. You don't get to choose what you believe. You become convinced of the thing, and then you have this thought that you believe that thing to be true. Just throwing that out there, because I've seen a lot of people just saying, like, just change your belief. It's people need to be led there. Jordan Vargas, I'm not sure, like, am I able to link more than one speaker on Skype? I think so. Actually, Jordan, if you log on to Skype, I will bring you on, and then I'll try to link someone else. If anyone wants to have a chat with Jordan Vargas, add me on at the Pangburn 3 on Skype. I'm live at, Travis Pangburn 3. Yes, you are convinced of your beliefs that you hold. You don't just select your beliefs. Something in my ear. Erukard the Immortal says you can lead yourself too. Yeah, but I mean, like, you can be proactive in that. You're right, Immortal. You can be proactive in that, but I'm just saying the environment is the thing that's going to convince you. Okay, we got Jordan Vargas coming on the air here live from the chat. If anyone else wants to jump on Skype, I am Travis Pangburn 3 on Skype. So jump on. I'm gonna open here, Jordan. As soon as you're ready, just give me a voice call, and we'll have you on. And then I'll try to do a link where I bring other people into this. I'm not sure if I can do multiple people on here, but we will try. But let's try to keep the topics within what we're talking about here. And we'll just take your audio. What up, JV? How's it going, my brother?
What's going on, man?
Oh, not too much. Thanks for calling back.
Yeah, dude. What are we talking about?
Well, you mentioned that you've been dealing with some theistic arguments in the chat. Why don't you fill us in?
Well, I don't know if they're theistic necessarily, but it's just debating on whether or not a belief is a claim, and I think it really depends on what the belief is, because, like, you know, if you're convinced that God is real, if you believe God is real, that's kind of sort of a claim in a way, isn't it?
Yeah, well, a claim has to be positively asserted. So basically, if someone says, "I believe that," so there's a difference of saying, "I believe that candy is sweet," and then to say that candy is sweet. One of those is a positive claim, and the other one isn't. So belief, you can make a claim about your belief, and it's not a positive claim. It's just a positive claim about what you believe. So
right. So you're convinced that it's true, but you don't necessarily.
Yeah, you believe,
have evidence.
Yeah, you believe it. Like, people can also believe things and and understand that there is no evidence. Like faith is a good example. When you're like, why do you believe in God? Someone will be like, well, I don't know, that's just my faith. So faith is the reason, the lack of a reason they give, even though it's not compelling to someone like me who's a skeptic, but to them it's enough to warrant that belief.
Right. Yeah. So it's enough to convince them, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. And then that's a key difference with knowledge. Like if someone's going to make a knowledge claim, like God exists, then we say to the claim maker, okay, demonstrate why you made that claim and verify that claim, please. And they can make their logical argument and present their evidence, and then we evaluate that and see if it's met its burden of proof. So those two things are different. Let me see if I can take this other call as well. Are you still there, Jordan? Hey, Jordan, are you still there? I'm just going to see if I can link these calls. Just hang on a sec there, Chris.
Cool, yeah.
I'm going to turn down your stream a bit here. So, Jordan, I think I just have you on hold, but let me see here. This might be something... let's see. Let's see if there's a link. Sorry, just bear with me, guys. Jordan, are you there?
Oh yeah, what's up, man?
Yeah. Let's see if I can share screen. No, that's. I don't think that's gonna work.
There'll probably be a delay.
Yeah, I was wondering if there's going to be a way that I can link your guys' call, but I'll Chris, I'm just putting you on hold for now, and I'll finish up with Jordan, then I'll take your call next, Chris.
Fair enough.
If anyone else wants,
I guess.
Yeah, go ahead.
My thing was like, if you're convinced that something is true enough for you to believe it, isn't that kind of, sort of implying a claim that it's true though? Like, I mean, you don't have to outright say it, but isn't it kind of implied?
Yeah, it's one of those things that, like, if you believe that Australia exists, like you've been convinced that Australia exists, and you say to someone, I believe Australia exists, you're making a, well, let's see this for a sec. Okay, I believe Australia exists. So yeah, so basically the response I give, if someone says I believe X, I say why do you believe X, and then they'll give me their reasons, and then we evaluate those reasons to see if they're reasonable, or if there's reasonable justification to believe that thing. So but knowledge requires true justified belief. So
right.
So there is that truth element to it, because people can believe things that aren't true, like believe in Santa Claus and all these things, but you can't know something that isn't true. So I think that's the main difference between those things.
Yeah, for sure. I guess I'm not even exactly clear what our disagreement was with the.
Yeah, it's. Yeah, I think it gets a little muddy. People believe all kinds of things for unreasonable justifications, but you don't get away with that in the knowledge realm. Like, you can have those conversations with belief, but you don't get away with it if you're making a knowledge claim. But I think I'll just jump over to Chris here. But thanks a lot for the call. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Hey, Chris, welcome back, man.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I'm just going to turn you down a little bit here. There we go. Awesome. What do you want to chat about?
Oh, this is trippy. Wait. This is not... Oh, wait. Fuck. Is this Jordan?
No. You're speaking with Travis. I can't link you guys together. So.
Wait. But I just don't understand, because maybe it's the delay.
It's probably a delay. I would turn off your stream, and then just have a chat with me.
Yep. Cool. So, about faith.
Yeah.
God damn, you strawman me left and right, man.
Strawman you, okay? How so?
Well, when I said everyone uses faith all the time, like just
Right.
to move your hand 2 inches, you use faith.
Yeah, and my response to that is that you're so moving your hand from one place to another. This is just a motor function. There isn't any actual thinking or ideas that go into that. At least that we're consciously engaging with. But as far
technically you have faith against the possible probability, even though it's a very low probability, of a dangerous event suddenly occurring in the space into which you are moving.
No, I think that's wrong. I think you don't do calculations in that way. We all know that getting into we all know that we just
the heck do you not do
just
That's
hang
the
on.
only way everyone does any calculation.
Hang on. When we get into a car, we know that there's a chance that we might die in that car. We don't have faith that we're not going to die. We don't apply this faith that we're not going to die when we get into this car. We actually know that we might die when we get into the car.
Faith is what we derive optimism from, which is necessary for life.
No, it isn't. I don't live my life based on any faith calculation. Like when I get into a car, or when I wake up in the morning and I go on my jog and I jog near a road, I know and understand that there is a statistical probability that I may in fact die during that jog, or I may have a aortal aneurysm or something like that.
You know that. Therefore, what?
Therefore, I just know that based on what the evidence of human reality has shown us. Like,
I'm trying to describe how you're not actually refuting what I said.
I'm just gonna put this one on call here, or on hold. Hey, Hussein. Hey, I'm just gonna put you on hold and just finish up with the other call, okay?
No problem.
Okay, cool. Just gonna bring back. Sorry, guys. Where is my other? Okay, here we go. Sorry about that, Chris. You're back on.
It's all good.
Yeah. Just need to recalibrate this again. Yeah. So my thing is that, like, the way I live, I'm not engaging in any faith where I don't have reason to explain what I'm doing, or I need to have some kind of some level of certainty that things aren't going to bad things aren't going to happen to me in order to do them.
Oh, can you repeat that real quick?
Well, the main part of this is that I wake up every day knowing that bad things could in fact happen to me, just based on what happens, like the chances of things happening to human beings. So I don't apply any level of like, well, I'm going to go out today because I have faith that no one's going to shoot me. It's like, that's not the way. I don't believe human beings think that way. I don't think that's how we do calculations.
Well, I mean, that just happens to be an example of something that we only need a low degree of faith for, but there are definitely examples of things with higher degrees of faith for.
Okay, so if you're
fundamentally addressing my point.
So if you're going to make the claim, Chris, that I have faith in any aspect of my life, you have to demonstrate it, because you've adopted the burden of proof.
Well, I am demonstrating it.
So demonstrate it. How can you demonstrate that I actually apply faith in my life?
Well, first of all, you have not demonstrated that you don't.
Yeah, it's not, the burden of proof is not up to me, man. If you're going to make the claim that I in fact do engage in faith,
you claim that you don't.
No, but let's start with who's making the positive claim here. I'm claim if
Those are both positive
look,
claims.
okay, the default position, a baby is born and they don't know anything about faith or anything at all. Now, that baby, when they're born into the world and they grow up, are you claiming that that baby is eventually going to be engaging in faith in throughout their life? Like, is this part of the human necessity to engage in faith?
I don't think it's an accurate. I don't accept your premise that the baby doesn't quote know anything about faith.
So you think that babies are born with knowledge about faith?
Yeah, we had this disagreement last time too. We don't agree about the definition of knowledge.
Okay, but again, if you're going to claim that babies are born with any aspect of knowledge whatsoever, you have to demonstrate it.
Yeah, what in order to disagree with my claim, you have to give your definition of knowledge.
It's true justified belief.
Right, but then you have to demonstrate
TJB.
Doesn't apply.
Well, you have to. No, it's just that's how we've set up knowledge in our colloquially to understand how we come to know things. So we have to be able to test whether an infant knows that.
I'm saying I'm already using that definition of faith. I mean, not faith.
Of knowledge. Okay, so how are you going to determine whether a baby is born with that knowledge when all neuroscience disagrees with you that they're not born with knowledge?
See, you're switching it again. This is using an incorrect. Colloquially, you're using an incorrect definition of the word knowledge.
No, I'm using true justified belief. I'm not saying that you have to achieve 100% certainty, but if you're going to claim that a baby is born with knowledge, you would, and if you could demonstrate it, you would win the Nobel Prize for demonstrating this.
There is information in their brain, therefore they know things.
What do you? Then you get into what do you mean by information? Like you mean instinct? Because that's not what we're talking about. You said knowledge.
Yeah, data is knowledge.
No, knowledge is true justified belief. And babies don't have belief, and they don't know what truth is. They don't know what justification is.
You don't have to be aware that you know things to know things.
You don't have to be aware that you know things to know things. You don't have to be aware that you know things to know things. Well, we have to be able to measure it. So if someone's going to make the claim that so-and-so knows things, we have to be able to measure whether they actually know things.
We don't personally have to be able to be measured. It just has to be...
Maybe not, but we have to be able to measure it. If you're going to claim that something does know something, we have to be able to measure it.
Everything is capable of being measured.
Everything is capable of being, well, sure, everything that we have detected is capable of being measured. And so far we've measured the neurological pathways of babies and infants, and we understand to a certain degree what they can comprehend and what they cannot at certain ages.
Yeah. I think you're getting too caught up in the last third of the definition of knowledge. It's not so important to think about whether they're believing something or not.
Well,
the information inside the brain of a newborn baby is perfectly fair for someone to consider knowledge.
Keith Connolly in the chat says babies are born with knowledge of their mother's voice. So I wouldn't say that that is knowledge of their mother's voice. I would say that is because it's not true justified belief. Like they don't know.
You're getting hung up on the belief part, but it's only.
But I'm not being hung up on it. It's just part of you. Like knowledge is a subset of belief. You need to be convinced that the thing is actually that you know the thing, that the thing is true. Like
knowledge is a subset of information.
Well, it's a subset of belief.
But more importantly, of information.
maybe, but we don't need the information term in there, because we have a model of true justified belief that works to describe what it means to know something.
I'm making a point to you that the model is flawed.
Oh, okay. So you want to change the knowledge model, and that's fine. I would say, why are you trying? Like, why not just?
But also, you're discounting my point that I don't concede that information is not inherently a belief. That's not. It's a subtle point, but it's an important one. I mean, you can't just say that. And like if it's information or data and it's in a living being, and that living being is using it to achieve something in that living being's life, how is it, in what meaningful sense is it not a belief?
Well, just because there's information, like in DNA, or if there's processes happening in the brain, like functions of instinct, that doesn't mean that there is belief attached to that. It's just the instinct of suckling on the teat. It's not that the infant believes in exactly what's going on there. It's just instinctual.
What is your definition of belief?
Well, belief is just the label we put on something when we become convinced of the validity of that thing. It's a label we put on things.
That's exactly why I gave the example of a living being using data that's inside its brain to accomplish things for itself. That's functionally the exact same thing as what you're currently describing.
Say that part again. They're using data in their brain.
They're using data that resides in their brain to accomplish material goals for themselves in their life. That is what a belief gives you.
So you're saying that when a baby is crying for food, they're engaging with a belief that action is going to provide them food.
Yes, they aren't aware that they believe that yet, but in the future they will become aware that in the past they had that belief in their barely formed larval stages of their life. Yes.
So you would define that as an infant's belief that, and you think that's not necessarily instinctual, as far as like, a baby feeling hungry or wetting themselves or whatever, and the only thing they can do is cry about it.
The whole point I'm making undermines the efficacy of trying to make a distinction between belief and instinct, because both of them are subsets of data.
All right, let's go to the chat and see what people think about what we're talking about here.
Fun.
Let's see. Let's see how far we can go back. David says, knowledge isn't a subset of information. Information is information. It doesn't require someone to know it for it to be information. So I agree with that.
Wait. No. That I don't disagree with that, and it doesn't disagree with what I said. It
sure.
doesn't.
I'm not. I didn't say that you. I'm not saying that you said that. I'm just reading the comment.
I'm not even accusing you. I'm just trying to clarify.
Yeah. Yeah. So Ishatak Hussein says, prove babies have this knowledge. So that's the fundamental thing about what I'm saying. Prove that they have this knowledge. And so far, the scientific community has not been able to demonstrate that babies have knowledge, like that infants have this knowledge.
I don't need to do that. I just need to demonstrate to you that you're thinking about your definitions of the words you're using incorrectly.
Okay, well, that's always possible, but I think in this case, I'm just looking at someone who's making a claim about this, and I'm saying demonstrate that this baby has knowledge, and so far, I don't think you've demonstrated that. You've possibly demonstrated some. Well, you've claimed some issues you have with how we think about belief with regards to infants or babies. But I also think we might just be playing with definitions here and getting away from the original claim of knowledge in babies, right?
Definitions matter a lot.
Yeah, no, I agree. The definitions are important, and it's important to be using the same definitions when we're having when we're trying to have a conversation about something, especially something in depth like this. Let's see. Okay, it looks like that was all in the chat. Oh, I have one more person in queue here, so I'm going to get to them. But again, man, I really appreciate you calling. I think you have some interesting perspectives, and would love to get you to call again. And you know what? Since we've had a couple calls, maybe I'll do a podcast with you at some time.
Hey, that would be awesome. I'm not planning to stop contributing my general presence to your channel anytime soon. So.
Right on. Thanks a lot, man. Really appreciate the call.
Have a nice night, Travis.
Yeah, you too. All right, that was Christopher Blake, also known as the Immortal. Next we have, looks like next in the queue we have Jagan64. Jagan64, whoever that is, feel free to call in now. We'll probably take Jagan64 and one more call after that. We'll keep them quick, and then we'll probably end this stream. It's been going on a while here. So we'll give Jagan64 a little bit of time, and if Jagan it looks like Jagan might be away, so I'm gonna take this caller next. I don't know who it is because it's just some long ID number. So okay, here we go. Incoming call. All right. Who am I speaking with?
Hello, this is Jim here.
Jim?
Yeah.
Oh, thanks for calling in, man. I'm just going to adjust your volume here a second. Okay, what did you want to chat about?
Good to speak with you. So I was wanting to present you an argument. You probably already know it, the ontological argument.
Yep.
So do you want me to lay it out here? Or?
Just do a quick summary for everyone here, and just so we can tackle it relatively quickly. And okay, you can turn off if you turn off the stream. That would be great.
Oh, sorry about that.
That's all right.
So the basic idea is we're going to say, God exists either in the mind or in...
Disconnected there.
I'm sorry, could you hear me? Should I just start over with that? Did you hear any of that?
Just one sec. We're just getting reconnected here. Okay, now I think we're back up. Go ahead.
Okay, so the basic argument is God is defined as a being than which no greater being can be imagined.
Sure.
So, and now there are two cases. God can exist either purely in the mind, just as a concept, or he can exist both in the mind and in reality. So we're going to assume that he exists purely in the mind as a form of proof by contradiction.
Sure.
Now, if he exists only in the mind, then I can imagine a God which is greater than that, namely one that exists both in the mind and reality, because things that exist in reality are, all things being equal, greater than those things that exist only in the mind.
Now I would say, why do we think that's the case? Why do we think that is greater?
Well, I mean, in terms of, I guess the word greater is a little bit nebulous. I didn't make up this argument, obviously, but greater, I think, generally means. And
I think we're actually getting to where the ontological argument breaks down, because I think it makes appeals to greatness in these things where people talk about the greatest conceivable being, and then they outline everything, but then there will always be a way to go one step further.
Well, I mean, if we talk about greatest as, best or most powerful, don't you think it would be reasonable to say that something that actually exists would be more so than something that doesn't, all things being equal, that is?
Well, I would say exists than something that doesn't. See, I'm not even convinced in the ontological argument that existence itself is even that great in that sense. Like, because we're putting a value on something that because we're starting to talk about something so powerful, it's like, really, is it that powerful to actually exist, or wouldn't it be more powerful to have a lack of existence altogether?
I don't understand why that would be more. Or you mean just it could be either way?
I'm saying either way. It's like, what system are we using to evaluate that existence itself is actually more powerful than non-existence?
Okay. Well, okay. So powerful, as in, powerful usually implies, an ability to affect some kind of action. So if something doesn't exist, then it will have no way to affect any kind of action. So it'd be completely impotent.
And then I would say, even though this thing doesn't exist, it doesn't mean that it could maybe decide to exist at one point.
Well, that would be that would be a contradiction, because then at some points it is not. Not as powerful as it can be.
But the ultimate being would be able to overcome our human contradictions, right?
What's that?
The ultimate being would be able to overcome our logical contradictions.
Well, I don't think that's necessarily true.
No?
Why would... I don't think that's a great thing to overcome logic.
Yeah, well, I think when we make logical arguments, like we say there are no married bachelors, we think that is 100% certainly true, but I can create a matrix hypothesis where that would be true. As soon as someone would come up with a logical absolute like that in my matrix that I would create, I would just make it, as soon as someone discovered that, their logic would be proved wrong. Sorry, I just had to decline that call. Sorry, go ahead.
So you're saying that a god who could counteract logic would be better than one that has to operate within that framework? Is that it?
I wouldn't even make that claim necessarily. I'm just saying that, like, what metric are we using to say that, to say all of these things? Like, when we're trying to look at what the ultimate epitome, why do we even in this ontological argument, why do we even think powerful to make change, the ability to make change is even powerful? Like, why aren't we saying that the epitome of power would be being a rock floating through endless space?
Well, I guess that comes a bit down to the definition of power, but that would be a quite unusual definition for something to be can be able to do nothing would mean it's most powerful. But again, I'm defining God as the thing which is most powerful using the regular definition of powerful. So I don't think you're really justified in changing the definition upon us like that.
Right. So I think what I'm getting at is that powerful it can be interpreted in so many subjective ways, including, you might ask someone what is more powerful, the power of knowledge on the like say on this planet right now, like the power of knowledge, or having the biggest military? Well, there can be strong arguments to be said that as much knowledge as you have, you can always be trumped, no pun intended, by the bigger military out there. So I think there's just different subjective approaches to what powerful means. And I don't think we can be married necessarily to definitions in a book, because, again, words don't have intrinsic meaning. They have usages. So it matters how people are using that term.
Well, fair enough. But seeing as I think that I agree that there's different, some people could say, having military is powerful, others could say this, but I think that the idea of existing it I think it's a pretty much a something has to exist in order to be powerful, or else the word powerful would mean nothing for it and it wouldn't be powerful.
Although if we think about it, we start talking again labels, and this is where the ontological argument is really about labels. It's like we talk about, what level of existence are we talking about? Are we talking about pre-Big Bang quantum fluctuation existence, or are we talking existence in a domain where there are no quantum fluctuations? And is that really existence? I just think it gets to a point where we have to define what this entity is, and then once we define it, I guess what I'm saying is once we define it, I think there will always be ways to either make it more powerful or less powerful.
Well, so am I right that your main counter argument to this is, the thing isn't completely precisely defined? Is that right?
Well, I think some would argue that it is well defined because it's literally the most powerful entity you could think of. That's what the God is that we're talking about. But my thing is that the ontological argument is going to change from person to person because the most powerful thing that can be conceived would change based on essentially the evolution of humanity. Because our ideas to conceive things more powerful are going to grow, right?
But God is just, the thing that nothing greater can be imagined than him. So I think that people can have different understandings of what constitutes greatness or power. Like they think a military is good and so on, but God just standing in as the one where you can think of nothing more powerful, more greater than him. And I think that
sure. And then if I go the less difficult route, then I say, okay, I'll grant you that it's the most thing you can imagine. So it's stuck in your imagination. Now the best I think someone can do, because if we're talking about existence, with the ontological argument, as far as I'm concerned, we're talking about existence in the imagination, because how is it more powerful to exist in reality than it is to exist in people's imagination? That's the part of this argument I have never understood.
Well, I think I'm kind of using the word powerful. Someone pointed this out, but I think the word is great initially. But I mean, I think
right.
It would be fair to say
conceivable being.
I mean, I think I find it to be fair, the idea that something that actually exists within reality is greater than something that's just imagined, such as, do you want a cupcake that's just in your imagination, or would it be greater to have one that you can actually fucking eat, Sorry for my swearing.
Right. And I think, so to us, the ones that want to consume this thing, we would be like, we want the actual cupcake. But to the cupcake itself, is it more powerful for the cupcake to exist in the imagination where it isn't going to be eaten, where it can always exist and always be called upon? I think there are arguments, like reasonable arguments to be made where it would, if the cupcake was sentient, it would prefer to not be eaten and exist in the ideological realm instead, I guess.
Okay, well, I think you've got a bit of a fair point with the how nebulous the word greater is.
And I appreciate you taking on this, because the ontological argument to me, is all about playing with human conception, right? Like what we can conceive of, and then we get to a point where we realize that human evolution has essentially everything to do with what we are able to conceive of. So the God is changing, and then we realize that the God concept is constantly changing from person to person, because what they're able didn't really stick around that long, and I don't think it's used that much anymore from modern day theologians, but I appreciate you bringing it up and chatting. I think it's a good exercise for sure.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. Can you remind me of your name? Was it Jim or?
Yeah, Jim.
Yeah, Jim, I really appreciate the call. Would love to chat with you again. So thanks.
Yeah, I just found out about your channel tonight. I was thinking, this
awesome.
guy looks like a nice guy to talk to.
Yeah, for sure. I hope you come back. I'm gonna just start doing these every Friday. But yeah, I appreciate it. I hope you subscribe, and thanks for the call.
Got you. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks. I think someone's trying to call. Guys, I'm going to end the calls for tonight. I'm sorry about that. I just got to wrap up this live stream. Keith Connolly says, fucking cupcakes. Was there... Sorry, guys. I'm going to have to shut down the... Someone said fix the stream. I don't know what they mean by that. Is the stream okay, guys? Ah! Someone's trying to call. I thought I closed Skype. Close Skype. Okay. Skype is closed. Guys, next Friday, I'm going to do another show. We're going to do this again. We're going to keep going through this event. Like always, we end up getting into some interesting chats on here. Sometimes it gets away from what we're talking about, but skip what, dude? Sorry. I don't know what Jordan's talking about. There's been a lot in the chat, guys. I haven't been able to get to everything. I apologize for that. And there's been some buffering with the internet tonight. It's kind of hit or miss in my location sometimes. It's telling me excellent connection right now. So, but anyways, I really appreciate you guys. Oh, you know what? Let me open up Skype. I didn't realize this was the guy that got skipped over. Here, I'm gonna call him back here. I think the writing is in Arabic. Hey, this is Travis calling.
Hi.
Hey, sorry. I wanted to take you guys in the chat. Were saying that you were trying to get on. So, what's your name?
Catch-22.
Catch-22 is your name? Okay. Well, welcome.
There's a whole group of scientists.
Sorry, I got to just stop this. What did you want to chat about?
Just the term belief and how you understand the term, because I think you kept saying that the term belief is a claim.
Well, I think it depends on how someone frames what they're claiming they believe. If someone says, my claim is I believe that, like if someone frames it as a claim, I'm okay for it being evaluated as a claim. But if it's not framed as a claim, like if someone's just like, I believe that wiping my ass with sand is better and I'm going to keep doing that. Obviously, you can challenge that person on that claim, but it's not a knowledge claim necessarily.
So if it's not a knowledge claim, then it's not a claim, right?
Well, you can, yeah, I guess, yeah, you're right. It's not. They're not making a claim. Yeah, they're not making an appeal to knowledge. They're not making a positive claim. So yeah, they're not making a claim. They're stating their belief.
Yeah, so why is evidence asked for a belief?
Well, so here's the thing. Knowledge is a subset of belief. So you have to believe. So true justified belief are the requirements to have knowledge. So belief, you have to have belief to get to the knowledge part, right?
When you say knowledge, do you mean experience?
Well, no, I mean knowledge, like demonstrable knowledge, things that can be demonstrated to be. So it doesn't have to be. I don't subscribe to 100% certainty for anything. I'm the same as Matt Dillahunty. I don't think it's achievable because of things like the matrix hypothesis. So I just would say that knowledge needs the requirements of knowledge are true. It has to be true. You have to be justified in believing it, and you actually have to believe it to be true. So it's the three subsets in epistemology for understand or for claiming that you have knowledge. You have to meet those three subsets.
So when you ask for something to be demonstrated, do you mean you want to experience it?
No, not necessarily. Demonstration like experimentation, a collection of evidence. I mean, evidence can come in many different forms, right? So if I'm to say to someone, if someone's like, I believe in God, that's one thing. I can say, well, I think you should evaluate that belief based on the claim that gods exist. So they're not making that positive claim, but they're basing their belief on claims. So then you have to start dealing with the claims that they're basing their belief on. And often when it comes to God, they're basing their belief on a claim that they heard that gods exist or some God exists, and they've believed it. They've been convinced of it.
I mean, if we don't have evidence for how the universe came into existence, then it's not irrational to believe God did it, right?
No, you're incorrect. The rational thing, if we don't know something, if we have a lack of evidence or understanding about something,
but no one's claiming to know. It's just a belief. I'm just trying to establish whether the belief is rational or irrational.
Yeah. So the belief isn't warranted if you don't have like if someone says, I believe that fairies exist in the cosmos, invisible fairies. It's like, okay, you can believe that, but I would ask, why do you believe that? I'll say, why do you believe that? And then if someone says, well, because we have no reason not to believe that, or for the example you were proposing, where the whole cosmos came from, where the universe came from, or why it's here, or whatever. And then
why wouldn't that be a good reason?
Why wouldn't it be a good reason? Well, if someone because you're not reasonably justified in believing that thing. Because if you ask someone, why are you reasonably justified in believing that? The best answer they're going to be able to give is faith.
No. I just gave you the reason. So if someone tells you that the reason for him believing in God is him experiencing this world that he sees to be fine-tuned, why would that not be a good reason?
Because he believes it to be fine-tuned. Well, then
No. He experiences it to be fine-tuned. He can see it. So why is that not a good reason?
Okay. So if he's going to make the positive claim that it is fine-tuned, then we can evaluate that claim.
Oh yeah. So I mean, you can look it up, but I'm just saying. So from him experiencing that, why would that not be a good reason to believe in God?
Well, because you would go to someone, if someone says, I believe in God because I experienced this as a fine-tuned universe, I would say, why do you think it's a fine-tuned universe? I would try to see if there are reasonable justifications actually exist for believing.
Yeah, I'm giving it. I'm giving it to you. He'll tell you that he sees purpose in the naturalistic world, as in the sun. The sun gives us life. We have water, we have food, we have all of these things that cultivate our life, that make our life comfortable. So why would that not be? Why would that not be a reason?
Because that doesn't. Because there's no way to determine whether that thing is a god or just an alien or a fairy.
It's not about determining. It's not about determining. It's about the reasoning behind it. It's about saying, look, so we have these things that help us as humans survive. Why would that not be a good reason for him believing that this was designed?
Well, we have we have things that seem designed, right? Now, if someone says that we have these things.
What do you mean by seem? What do you mean by seem?
Because evolution by natural selection, the way it works, the way life is built by this process, it seems designed because it is built based on what is available the building blocks that are available in reality to build it, and
So
it's
is
over vast.
natural selection? So is natural selection intended?
Intended? No, there's no intention. There's just
So it's an accident.
process.
So it's an accident.
It's a process.
So you believe a process without intention came into order and brought and went into order.
Well, just wait. A process without intention, not necessarily. So at some point there was the first self-replicating cell. So someone could argue that an intention to self-replicate found its way into life, into evolution. So
an intention. How does an intention find its way? What do you mean?
That's a very good question. Why the question of why did the first cell become self-replicating?
No. What I'm asking is, now that we have this, just let's call it the Earth, which sustains life by many means, which we would say is in order. How would that come from a process which was not intended?
Wait, why do you think life is in order?
The Earth as we see it, as in the sun, the water that comes down, the rain, the crops that grow, so they all work together to sustain life, right?
Yeah, I mean, the fruitfulness, the fruitfulness of those. Just one sec. The fruitfulness of those processes are what we've evolved to use to help us live. Yes.
So how did that come up randomly?
Who said random?
So was it intended?
It's not mutually exclusive. It's not a random. There is some random mutation in this process. Just because of the facts of chemistry, things can go haywire. But that doesn't mean that living beings. We're getting into a different realm here, but living beings move towards well-being, and if they don't, they're dying off, right? So there seems to be this instinct to want to self-replicate and have kids, children, babies, and
No, but I'm not talking about beings. I'm talking about the Earth itself. If you look at the Earth, it has a certain functionality to it that sustains life, right?
Yeah, the Earth has some unique properties to it, or seemingly
So
unique properties.
how did we get that functionality from randomness?
I didn't say it came from randomness necessarily.
If it's not random, but if it's not random, then it's intended.
No, it doesn't mean like you can have something that finds itself in the right position to be activated, right? And physics doesn't work like it's putting these things just randomly into position. Things, since the Big Bang, things are operating based on the laws of physics. So these processes and environment found itself in a position on this planet, on Earth, to give sprout to life. So that much we know, and that could have meant that some kind of thing, meteor came from a different planet and smashed into the Earth, and then there was some life on it or something like that, or abiogenesis just occurred on the planet. But so that's not.
But
random.
that is the definition of random.
No, it's not. It's not random because you can measure whatever it was that led to that life happening on Earth. You can measure it all back to the start of the Big Bang. It's just all physics.
Okay, so you said laws. How do laws come in place without intentionality?
Like the laws of physics?
Yeah.
That's a very good question. I'm not sure that we know that, but I'm not a physicist or a theoretical physicist.
So just going back to the word belief, right? So if we don't have, so a belief is basically an acceptance of a claim, right?
Yeah. Well, it's just being convinced of things. We put the things that we are convinced of. We put the label belief on them.
Is there anything you believe in without evidence?
No, I believe everything that I believe I can build a scientific model for, including love and emotional
No,
states.
I'm not asking what you can do. I'm asking if you have the evidence.
Like have the evidence for love?
No, like let's say the Earth goes around the sun, right?
Yes.
Do you have the evidence for that?
Well, Google does because we have a collection. We have
okay.
a collection of works that have been done by people who have made these measurements, and they have been verified over and over and over again by peer review, and that's the scientific process.
But that's just what you've been told.
Why are you saying just been told? It's not like I can't go and learn and verify this myself.
No. I'm not asking you what you can do. I'm asking you what you have.
No, I've read the evidence and I've understood it, but I'm not an expert in the field. So me trying to sit here and tell you exactly how all that comes together, I would have to pull it up and reference it. Like this,
so
there's a reason why we have experts, because we all can't be experts of everything.
I know. So now evidence is just reading books. That sounds religious, doesn't it?
No, it's not just reading books. It's the content is what matters. It's that the content is based
on books. The content from the books,
well,
right?
Not necessarily books, scientific or online journals, and those are based on taking very detailed. Just wait.
That's still words.
Just wait. All of this is derived by using the scientific method, which includes peer review, and taking the evidence of reality, which is measuring distance to the sun and measuring the how the Earth orbits the sun, and we.
Yeah, but you haven't measured anything. You haven't measured anything.
Me personally?
Yeah, I'm asking you.
Yeah, I have no, but I don't have to go and actually. That's the beauty of a social species. We can actually pass information on to each other, and it doesn't mean that that the information is always going to be.
But what if I told you I had information from prophets?
Then I would ask what that information is, and then if you make a claim that the information from the prophet says that the next apple you eat in the year 2012 is going to kill you, then I would say, oh well, how do you know that? Was it just written by them? And then you'd say, yeah,
no,
it's just.
What if they said something that was true?
Like what?
So
give me an example.
Well, what if they said you should respect your mother because she's your mother?
Okay, if they make a claim, you should respect your mother because she's your mother?
It's not a claim. It's just a matter of morality.
Well, that's a claim. If they say you should do X, that's a claim.
It's not asserting something to be true. It's just telling you what you should do.
Yeah. Okay. Either way. So if they say,
what's the difference?
If they say if they say you should do this thing, I would ask, okay, what would be your justification for telling me to do that? That would be my response.
Okay. If they say apples are healthy for me, does that mean God exists?
If who says?
If the prophet says apples are healthy for me.
Yeah, if the prophet says apples are healthy for you, that doesn't mean that anything else about wherever that information came from, it means that anything else about that is true. Because someone in some book written thousands or let's even say millions of years ago. Just wait. It's not just about the book itself. It's about the content in the book. You're missing a key thing here.
Okay, look. But if a scientist tells you something, how do you know it's true?
It's not just one scientist that tells you something. You shouldn't just listen to one scientist telling you something and believe that it's true. You should verify, or
how? How do I verify?
How do you verify? By looking up what the general consensus of scientists around the world say.
But how do I know what they're saying is true?
If you really want to become an expert in the field of what they are claiming, you can do that. And you don't even have to go that far. With specific claims, you can actually go in and do the dirty work yourself if you wish.
But how do I? But so we can only know it's true.
You're asking how you do it. It's called education.
I know, but we can only know something is true if we become an expert. That's what you're saying.
No, that's not what I said. Nice straw man.
That's what you just said.
No, I didn't say. I didn't say that.
Okay, so if so many, okay, so if so many, okay, so if so many atheists, okay, so if so many atheists make the same claim, how do I know it's true?
What claim do atheists make?
The Earth goes around the sun.
You think it's just atheists that make that claim?
Scientists.
Oh, okay. Yeah, if scientists make the claim,
so how do I know that's
true? Then you ask the scientist how they know that to be the case, and they explain it. It's in basic science. It's in basic science books of how they built this scientific model.
Okay, when they explain it to me, how do I know what they're explaining to me is true?
How do you know that the information is true? Because other scientists have verified the information. And science works this way. This is why the method works so well.
I know. Okay, every scientist has...
Just wait. You're getting into conspiratorial area here. But
No. If all the scientists confirm that it's true, how do I know they're telling me the truth?
Because we have to rely on experts to a certain degree. So here's the thing. Here's the thing. Just wait a second. If they're extraordinary claims, they're going to require extraordinary evidence to demonstrate. And in the scientific community, there is a level of falsification that happens. The science works towards wanting to falsify things. That's the way the method works. And we are able to identify when scientists are not using the scientific method properly, and those people are ostracized and they're exposed in the scientific community. So the collection of scientists around the world, if there becomes something that's like a 50-50 disagreement on something, that would be very interesting, and they would be having conversations and debates about this. But that's not the case. When it comes to things that we claim to know, it's generally 97 to 98% of scientists agree on the thing that we know, based on the evidence that's available.
I know, but just because scientists agree on something doesn't mean they're right.
That the scientific science doesn't decide what is 100% right for all time.
I never said 100%.
I know you didn't say that, but I'm just saying it for people who are listening as well.
So
I'm not saying you said it, but I'm saying that science is the models are going to keep adjusting as new evidence becomes available. That's the way the method works.
I know. I'm just saying. I mean, I think we should apply the same standards atheists apply to theists, because whenever we say we believe in God, you always ask us, how do we know God exists?
Well, it's an extraordinary
But when we ask
claim,
atheists,
right?
but when we ask atheists how they know, they refer to scientists.
Yeah, but because science is based on the evidence of reality, theism is based on faith.
I know it's based on the evidence of reality, but you don't have the evidence.
That doesn't matter if I don't have the evidence. The evidence still exists.
So why do you believe it if you don't have the evidence? Why do you believe it?
Because I've been convinced based on the preponderance of evidence that has been collected by scientists and experts who have all agreed that this is the best explanation based on the evidence of reality.
But that still doesn't say that you know it to be true.
No to 100% certainty. That's not the way science works.
I never said 100%.
Okay, but what do you mean by no? In science.
I'll tell you what I mean by no. I mean experience. For example, the shirt that you have on right now, you don't believe that you have you have a shirt on because you're experiencing it.
Yeah, I mean, I know to the sense of not applying 100% certainty to know that I'm wearing this shirt. Yes.
Yeah, so you wouldn't say you believe.
I know.
Yeah. So knowing here in this sense means experience.
No.
So
no. Just wait. I can build scientific models to demonstrate that I am wearing this shirt.
You can make, sorry?
I can create scientific models to demonstrate that I am wearing this shirt.
Why would you need to make a model when I can see you're wearing a shirt?
No, because what you are seeing, you might be hallucinating right now. So whether you're hallucinating or I'm hallucinating doesn't matter, because just wait, just listen for a second. Whether you are hallucinating or I'm hallucinating doesn't matter, because science works outside of our perception. So we can build this scientific model that will be correct. It doesn't all across the line, regardless of what our perceptors are telling us about it. It will be correct based on the evidence of reality.
So are we all hallucinating if we all come to the agreement that you're wearing a black t-shirt?
No, I didn't make that claim. I'm saying that the scientific method takes away human error. Even though scientists can make error, but the peer review process takes away the human error of our perceptions.
How sure are you that you're wearing headphones right now?
I'm very sure.
How sure? Out of 100%.
Well, I would say I'm 99% sure that I'm wearing headphones right now.
Why do you doubt it 1%?
Because of the matrix hypothesis.
What's that got to do with reality?
The fact that the matrix hypothesis exists tells me that I could have been put into existence 1 millisecond ago with all of the knowledge and memories that I have now. And in fact, it would have been false for me to claim that I was in fact wearing these headphones.
Is the matrix hypothesis a reality?
It could be. It is a possibility. So
why do we entertain what could be? Let's just deal with reality.
Well, possibilities are important when it comes to logic, I think, but it's not practical. I wouldn't make the claim that the matrix hypothesis exists, or that we are in the matrix. I wouldn't make that claim at all. I think it's almost well, first of all, we have no reason to believe that we are. There's no evidence. And then second,
why don't we just deal with reality? Why don't we just deal with the reality?
And secondly, if we even do exist in the matrix, there's no way for me to determine it as far as I can tell.
Yeah, but I could say if the sun was made of cheese, that's not gonna bring any fruitfulness to this discussion. In your reality right now, is it 100% true that you're wearing headphones?
No.
Can you prove that?
Prove what? I didn't make a claim.
You did make a claim. You said you're not what.
No, I didn't make a positive claim.
I'll tell you how. I said, in your reality, are you wearing headphones? You said no. So you need to prove to me why you're not wearing headphones.
I already told you that because the matrix hypothesis exists.
I'm not talking about the matrix. I'm talking about your reality.
No,
your reality.
There is no your reality. There's just reality, and we pull the evidence of reality to make scientific models, and that's what we got to do. But I got to let you go, man. But please, let's share another call again, because I really enjoyed talking to you a lot.
Definitely.
What's your tag name again?
Catch22.
Catch22. I really appreciate that. Everyone, give Catch22 a round of applause. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys hanging out for that, and I'm glad you guys gave me a kick in the balls to make sure he got his chance. He had a good run. All right. Well, I think that is all for tonight, everyone. I really appreciate you guys showing up and hanging out. Thank you for sticking around for the last call. And we're going to do this next Friday again. It's virus season, so we're all confined to our little cubes, I think, for a while. So yeah, I'll talk to you guys again on Friday. I'll probably do a live stream in between there about the virus. So David Simmons says no more calls with Catch22. Oh, it's all good. It's all good. I'm glad I got to chat with him. I really appreciate you guys hanging out. This has been the Pangburn Watch Party, the first one of Dinesh D'Souza versus Matt Dillahunty. And as always, guys, I appreciate you all, love you all, and let art and science inspire. 3 hours, wow.